Hey, good evening and welcome to our Council and Committee of the Whole meeting for February 3rd, 2026. Bienvenue à notre réunion du Conseil pour le 3 février. We will open the meeting this evening with our land acknowledgement by Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For land acknowledgement. As we meet today, I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of the land on which we are gathered. The municipality of West Nipissing respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the homelands of the Anishinaabe peoples, on the traditional territory of the Nipissing, Temagami, and Dukis First Nation, covered by the Robertson-Huron Treaty. We honor and recognizes their historical connection to the land and value their significant contribution in shaping and strengthening our communities. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility toward reconciliation and improving our understanding of local Indigenous people and their culture.
Merci beaucoup. Number 2 is declarations of pecuniary interest. Councillor Rivard.
For the discussion regarding the short-term rental bylaw, it's of work.
Okay. I'll also declare on 5.1.3 short-term rental as a holder of license. Thank you. Next to the addendum and agenda, we do have an addendum this evening.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the addendum for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on February the 3rd, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on February the 3rd, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Okay. Questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Move on to number 4, delegations and petitions. We're pleased this evening to welcome a delegation from Pride West Nipissing, Fiate Nipissing West. So I'd like to welcome their president, Ryan Jackson, and I believe he has a presentation. No presentation, but please welcome to the podium, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We have one thing that I sent to the clerk, which was a map that was part of our thing that I confirmed.
I do have it.
Okay, perfect. Of course you do. Things that we sent. So I'm here representing the West Nipissing Pride Committee, and we have a proposal for this year's festivities. But before we start and go into the details of that, it's important to say why we're here and why we still need Pride. And it's because there's currently in Canada, in our communities, an increase in hate, an increase in intolerance, in violence, and in political parties using hatred of our community as a way to scapegoat. And this puts our community and individuals at risk in West Nipissing and beyond. And just a couple facts and figures, hate crimes against sexual orientation have risen in Canada alone by 69% in the last year and 388% in the last 7 years. And in a government survey that went out by the Government of Canada, almost half believed that sexual orientation was a choice. Also, just this past weekend, the Conservative Party of Canada, by 2 votes, decided to not put conversion therapy back on their agenda, which has been scientifically proven to be a torture and way of with no scientific basis, which increases depression. Suicide is more than 3 times likely. So this is why it's very important to have Pride today. And you might think, oh, well, that's not here in this area, but Sudbury recently had defacing of their rainbow crosswalk and their flags. They also received threats to their festival. And in North Bay, the youth organization Out Loud, which is a queer youth organization, had thousands of death threats online just in the past couple of years. And in West Nipissing here, we have received on our social media an increase in the last year of hateful comments on our social media. So this is something that is real and true right here, and why we need to continue, and not just continue, but to increase our vigilance so that all community members, all individuals, everyone that calls West Nipissing home or might in the future call West Nipissing home will feel welcome, accepted, and not just tolerated, but a valued member of the community. So what are we proposing for this year? Well, just like last year, we want visibility. And since we are the West Nipissing Pride Committee, not just Sturgeon Falls, that's why last year we proposed to put up flags in some of the surrounding communities. And it was interesting because as we went on what we called our rainbow tour, it was very interesting in some of those communities when a number of individuals came out. In Levine, we had about 20 people that came out, and one person actually traveled from a different province. They used to live in Levine. They grew up there. They were visiting their grandmother and such, and they are now one of our community one of the members of the 2S LGBTQ plus community, and recently came out as trans, and they had tears saying that they never had thought that in their town they would have a pride flag. We had people in Hash Bay, many different places that came out and support us. So we would like to once again raise those flags in those communities. We came with this proposal last year to committee, and we were very happy that you said yes. We are very much happier this year that you have put up some additional flagpoles, as we want to raise our flags, not take down the Canadian flag. So we're glad that now there's room for both flags there. We also want for you to declare June as Pride Month once again, and for there to be the parade. We have an adjoining map of the proposed Pride parade route. And as you'll see, it actually includes starts and ends in Goulard Park. And the reason that we'd like that is because we'd like to increase this with having a small festival with some community tables there, some artisan tables, and be able to have people not just come out, walk down the street, and then all disappear, but actually have a place where some artists, local artists, and Lighthouse, which is a youth organization here and run at the community center, want to do a bake sale on their table. So we want to have this a way so that the community can be visible and so that people can really enjoy it, families and friends and everything. And for the Pride Parade that we have coming, we'd also like for, just like the other parades that happen in this community, for a fire truck to be in the parade. We know that that is something that is done in other parades that happen in the year, and we'd like to have that because it has been brought up to us by some people that it is visible that the emergency services are at certain things and most things and not at this one. And we know that emergency services, police, that kind of stuff have had a troubling in the past, not necessarily in West Nipissing, but other places, historically a difficult relationship with the queer community. And we want to show that in West Nipissing, we will be treated the same as any other festival, any other community, any other group, any other individuals, so that when people call emergency services, they know that they will always have the same treatment, because that's what we at West Nipissing stand for. And the other thing that we would like to have is Melanie, the clerk, has some stickers that we would like. Could we show them to the? Sorry. They are simply stickers that say that anyone that people will be accepted and safe, the queer and trans community. We propose that these be put at public facing municipal buildings, so that they serve two purposes. One, so that whenever anyone comes to these buildings of our community, of anyone in the community, or people are looking to move here, people that are passing through, they see that it is a commitment that they will be treated with dignity, quality, and they were safe here to present as themselves. They don't have to say, oh, my friend. They can say my husband, my partner, my spouse. And it also means that anyone that walks through those doors, any person that is working, any municipal contractor, any municipal employee, knows that this is what is expected, that you will treat people with dignity and respect, and they will be safe with you as working here. And that's important because while there are troubles in Canada, while there are troubles in our community, West Nipissing is our home. West Nipissing, we can make West Nipissing safe. We can be a way that West Nipissing says, no, we are a place where you can come, where you don't have to leave West Nipissing after you grow up and as you realize that you are gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever. You don't have to move all the way to Halifax or to Toronto. You can call this your home and you will be safe, accepted, and a wonderful community member. And that's what we are trying to achieve with you. And that's what I came here to talk about. So I'll open the floor for any questions or comments or clarifications.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jackson. We have had Pride in to present to us every year since we've been on council, and many of the requests are the same as have been honored in the past. They will come back to a future meeting for discussion and all of that. I will open the floor to questions or comments from our members.
My committee member has mentioned that do I have to mention about the road closures for the parade?
No, that will come back as one of the things that is done by resolution of council. So usually what happens with delegations or petitions, the information is received and then it'll come back at the next meeting after that. So the road closure is part of the request, and the maps have already been confirmed to be on file there.
And the flag raising and all the discussion.
Yeah, so all of the items in your request will come back for the discussion, and those things will be looked after as business accounts.
Okay, should the committee be here for that discussion so we can answer questions, or how does that work?
No, generally not. Like generally, this is the point where we receive information from you, and then it's, it just come back as discussion items on our regular agendas.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Councilor Larrabee?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to add that you are welcome to assist in the meeting. Like, this is a public meeting, so whenever we discuss it, you're welcome to attend the meeting.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor.
Other questions? Okay, I do want to say your organization has been doing really great things over the last number of years, and we appreciate the work of yourself and the other committee members, and appreciate you coming to make the requests and the plans that you're putting in place for this year. So we look forward to it.
Of course. And so the next committee meeting is in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks from today.
Perfect. We look forward to hopefully be able to announce after that meeting and begin the preparations.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, the next item on the agenda. What's that? Sorry, is I'm sorry. We'll move into our committee of the whole, 5.1 general government. It looks like general government's pretty heavy this evening, lucky me. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Ferrin and Councillor Nicole, just to have you confirm on pecuniary interest and review the agenda. Are there any items of concern for you?
No.
Councillor Ferrin?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving to 5.1.1, update on the property standards bylaw. This was an agenda item that was put forward by Councillor Ferrin and discussed briefly at our last meeting. The bylaw is attached for reference. With that, Mr. Pilon, do you have anything that you have time before we move into discussion on the item?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, and I want to thank Madam Clerk for doing some research on these pieces on several of these items in the general government agenda. We have certainly taken into account many of the recommendations put forward by Councilor Ferran in looking at both the property standards bylaw and the composition of the property standards committee. And as you can see, there are some notations throughout the document here, basically spelling out some of the issues brought forward by Councilor Ferran. Certainly, we remain available to continue this discussion. It's a pretty comprehensive bylaw, and by and large, some of the major issues were identified by Councilor Ferran and probably form a large subject to the discussion on this piece today.
Thank you. I'll open the floor up for questions or comments on this piece. Councilor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make a few additional comments. When I joined council, I made it clear that property standards was going to be one of my number one priorities. It's not only an issue of beautification or property values, but I think mostly it's a safety issue, and it should be one of the municipality's top priorities also. There was a house fire in West Nipissing a couple of weeks ago. This property had property standards issues for a long time, and the subject of many complaints. I'm not speculating on the cause of this particular fire, but I will say that property standards issues can and do sometimes result in fires, which can mean significant property damage and possible loss of life. So I'm not going to repeat all the points that I made in my original agenda item request, but I just want to add a few points that came to me subsequently, and things that should also be in the bylaw, like clear enforcement steps and guidelines, automatic escalation for serious or repeat offenses, immediate orders when safety issues are identified, and the authority to use third-party contractors when municipal resources are limited, especially if there's a cleanup required. And I think we should have active follow-ups after municipal cleanups to prevent recurrence, because we all know that we can go in there, clean up a situation, and then it just comes back very soon after. And I'd also like to see, if possible, regular reporting to council in a manner that respects confidentiality, especially on long-running files or repeat violations and safety-related enforcement. So I really think that with the right fee and fine structure, this should not cost the municipality anything, and the income from fines should now start to offset the cost of bylaw enforcement. And I really, and I've said this before, we should not wait until we have a complaint. We should act when we see problems in the community. I realize that our resources are limited, but to be honest, I'd much rather see our bylaw officers dealing with property standards issues than issuing parking fines in private parking lots, for example. So that's all the other comments I wanted to make. And I also had, one question, I think in my original submission, which was about the Property Standards Committee, and how many times it has met in this term of council, and if the minutes of these meetings are published.
Okay, for that question, Mr. Peel.
Yeah, I'll defer to Madam Clerk on that. I believe it was.
The Property Standards Committee has met once in 18 years.
Recently. Okay. And are the property standards meetings public meetings? Are they recorded? Are the minutes, are there minutes of those meetings? So what is the standard procedure for a meeting of the property standards?
Like all municipal meetings, standards meetings are public. They are on published on the site. Typically, because they're an ad hoc kind of committee, they're called on a very, very limited basis for a specific item. As a rule, property standards is dealt with under the building code through orders. And unless there's an appeal of an order or a fine given, that's the only cause that the standards committee would have reason to meet.
Sorry, and not for actual building code offenses, which are handled separately through POA. So it would be through building enforcement, but building enforcement of the specific language within the Property Standards Act that is not covered under the building code or under, say, fire. There's certain fire bylaws as well, correct?
There is certain fire bylaws. Yes, you are correct, Madam Mayor. There is also the fire code and the act that
Yeah. Okay.
provincial.
Okay, does that answer your question, Councillor Ferrer?
Yes, partly. I couldn't see any record of that meeting on the agenda online. Is it published and was it announced?
It was announced, I believe, that the committee met about a month ago or a little bit more. Maybe a little more than it was before Christmas. The minutes wouldn't be obviously available until the next meeting when they're adopted by that same committee. They just are in draft, they're in draft form at the moment.
Okay. And
Well,
are they
that's-
viewable online?
Minutes typically aren't viewable until they've been adopted by the committee.
No, I mean, not the minutes, the actual meeting. Is it viewable online like a planning committee?
Wording of it.
No, it wasn't live streamed nor recorded.
Okay.
Oh.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
I guess the only kind of procedural issue with that is that if the Property Standards Committee hasn't met for 18 years, it could be 18 years before we get a record of the minutes of that meeting, which would be a little. I even if it was done by Zoom or something like that, because I think that is a bit of a hiccup in the system, let's say.
Sure.
And we might want to address that when we're looking at the terms of reference for the committee, which was addressed in Councillor Ferran's initial note here. Other questions or comments from member? Oh, sorry, Councillor Ferran.
I just thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to add to that. I think if we step up enforcement, as I'm suggesting we should, then I think we're going to see more meetings than once every 18 years.
That's likely. Okay. Okay. Other questions or comments on the property standards bylaw? Councillor Restwell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of quick questions. I'm not sure if I missed this, but when this committee meets, I don't know if we know this because it's only been once in 18 years, but who calls the meeting of this group is my first question. And the second question is it possible if we are making these changes to the bylaw that we ask them or direct them to convene a meeting just to review what's been approved here at council moving forward, and maybe that would help getting them maybe meeting on a more regular basis.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the meetings are, the meeting agendas are produced out of the clerk's department, but the chief building official is the staff resource person who attends the meetings.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Restwell? Kind of?
Kind of, yeah, it does from the perspective of how meetings are called and whatnot, but if we are making these changes, can we ask that a meeting be convened to review whoever's part of this?
Are you suggesting that when we have, say, whether it's a new draft, a new bylaw drafted or amendments done to this bylaw, do you feel the Property Standards Committee should be engaged to review and make comment on the changes? Or are you, like, I'm just trying to understand what you're asking.
That might be a good idea. What I was thinking was just to have them meet to review the changes that are, that may be put forward by council through the recommendations that we're looking at tonight. I don't know if we necessarily need their direction on getting the okay to make these changes, but I think it might be beneficial to have them meet to at least be aware of what the changes are. Maybe not 18 years from now.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. You have that noted. Okay, Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Who is on this committee? Exactly. How many individuals?
Well, 3.
3.
And no members of council.
So I think, in my opinion, I would like personally to see at least one member of council on the committee, and let's have a minimum of once a year, a meeting of that committee. If it lasts 10 minutes because nobody's put an argument in, I forget the word I'm trying to use now, then it lasts 10 minutes, but at least we'll know that they'll meet. At least we'll know there'll be minutes, and at least we'll know that what's going on. So I believe there should definitely be somebody from council on that committee, if not 2, and meet at the very least once a year so that we can try to figure this out so that it doesn't end up once every 18 years. And that group can discuss all the changes that Monsieur Ferrand is recommending. I think it's great, and I think it's way overdue for a good revamp of this bylaws.
So,
Sorry, so
That's okay.
we say 2. Who are they?
oh, there are 3. It's Raymond, currently Raymond Marlowe. They're public,
They're
okay?
public.
Raymond Marlowe, Robert Pilon, and Pierre Saint Jean.
Okay.
And were they appointed at the beginning of this term, all
Yes.
3 of them?
Yes.
Okay, and the current composition of the Property Standards Committee was set by bylaw in 2007, so that's almost 20 years. Is there a kind of policy reason why a member of council has not been included on that?
I don't know. It was in practice when I began here, and it's the bylaw doesn't specify. It just simply states that it'll consist of not fewer than 3 persons.
Okay,
There's no requirement for them to be large or not.
is the committee still required if the property standards bylaw is being enforced through the administrative monetary penalty program?
What would happen in that?
Because there's an adjudicator involved in that process, correct?
Yes, and that might be an area where we will, if we're going to make changes to the bylaw, where we might see, because the way that the AMPS is set up, there's a staff adjudicator and then a hearing officer. If they agree with the screening officer's judgment or the ticket, they would go to a hearing, and that's a person appointed.
Okay, so what you would recommend is obviously, is there agreement that both the bylaw, I'll get to you in just a second, Councillor Ferrand, there's agreement that both the bylaw and the composition of the committee are due for a refresh? Is that a general agreement with council? You're not, okay, thank you. And so what you're saying is from staff perspective, we should be looking at updating or creating a new property standards bylaw first. And then based on what that bylaw looks like, going back to the committee structure and structuring the committee to fit the bylaw. Is that correct?
I think that would be prudent, because if we are enforcing under AMPS, it may be that the committee would only be required in certain circumstances. The more straightforward things go directly through AMPS, and we could structure it so that perhaps some items would be held outside.
Okay,
I don't know. AMPS is new,
yeah,
so.
okay. Okay, so Councillor Ferrand, you had something to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, from the research that I did, the purpose of the Property Standards Committee. The Property Standards Committee is a quasi judicial body in this, similar to the Committee of Adjustment. And its sole purpose, or I think one of its sole purposes, is to hear appeals for orders that were issued under the Property Standards Bylaw. And that's probably why it has only met once in 18 years, is because there's only been one appeal to a property order. And Madam Clerk may correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think at the moment the purpose of the committee is to review any changes we want to make to the bylaw, although we could give it that responsibility if we wanted to, I suppose. But really, the purpose of that committee is very limited.
Thank you.
Sure. I know, understanding from Councillor Fadaz, recommendations, was there any suggestion about the actual fines? Because I believe Councillor Fadaz brought forward that the fines are sort of grossly underestimated in some of the fees, but was there a starting point there that we wanted to have a discussion about this today, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my recommendation, I guess, I don't know if that's proper, but would be to look at what other municipalities are doing and try to line up our fine structure to be consistent with similar municipalities. You know, what I will say, I was really happy to see this come forward, actually, because it was something that I wanted to bring forward in light of what we'll call several problematic properties within the municipality that under the current bylaw and with all of the tools that are there, enforcement has been extremely difficult on some of the more problematic files. And so I really want to look at the bylaw. My opinion is to look at the bylaw from scratch and really use the expertise that we have in-house through our chief building official, who's been here a long time and knows the building code side of it and inside and out, fire chief who has an understanding through the fire code, and make sure that if we are spending the time to put together a new bylaw, that it tries to address the gaps in enforcement mechanisms that are currently there. Because I think, you know, if we put our heads together, we could probably list a dozen properties across the municipality where there have been several complaints. They're visibly an issue, health and safety issue, an issue for neighbors. And, you know, we really want to get to the point where we have a bylaw that is a good tool for our staff. And I do want to just note for anybody who is watching, you know, enforcement is outside of the role of council. So it becomes really frustrating for us because we receive the input and the complaints and the frustrations of residents, but we don't have any power or influence over the enforcement of these files because they are all under separate legislation with people within the municipality who have specific powers to do that. We're not informed of enforcement because they are legal issues often. And our job here is to set policy, is to create bylaws that work for the people who need to do the work. And so I would just say that I would hope that, you know, working interdepartmentally within the municipality, that we can maybe look at addressing some of the big gaps that have been there. Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question for our clerk. The set fine the municipality will set, are these subject to approval by the province?
Through you, Madam Mayor, for the provincial offenses, if we wish to continue to keep the Provincial Offences Act as a backstop to administrative monetary penalties, or AMPs. AMPs we have more flexibility with. Fines under the provincial offenses have to be approved by the province before we can enforce.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, so Madam Clerk is, I believe, looking for direction on whether council would like to see amendments made to the current bylaw or whether like kind of would it come back as a staff report first with more direction? Like, how would you want to do it if it was an all new bylaw?
For you, Madam Mayor, what we would do is bring back a draft bylaw accompanied by a report addressing the sections that have been addressed or removed or changed.
So I just want to see, or is council in favor of moving forward with a new bylaw as opposed to amending the 20-year-old bylaw? Is that a pre-vote, sorry, Councillor Ferrin, or would you like to ask a question?
No, I was in favor of what you were just saying.
Okay, thank you. So I just see a show of hands to ask staff to prepare an initial draft for a new property standards bylaw that addresses some of the issues that have been discussed here, or all of them, if possible. Yes?
Just.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Do you require any other information from us in order to move forward?
No, I think I have all the instruction I need.
Okay, and any other questions or comments or clarification required from council?
Good, man.
Okay. That wasn't as hard as it looked. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the terms of 5.1.2, which is terms of reference for our boards and committees.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor, and
Thank you.
I want to thank again Madam Clerk for putting together a very sort of brief but concise snapshot of exactly what the current status is of all of our terms of references. Certainly, find how we feel that we should approach with regards to the consistency across all committees and boards. Some of them we don't have a whole lot of say in. As you can see, there's a good snapshot there of when the documents were last up and when they were, I suppose, come into force, when they were last updated, revised, and so on and so forth. And certainly with some recommendations in the last column with respect to how we should be approaching these. I'm just looking for some confirmation on some of that direction and any further discussion that needs to be had.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from our council? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Cal, yes. Councillor Ferrin.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam Mayor. I just have a question. So are we is staff then going to come back with some draft changes to the existing terms of reference as a package that we will review at a later date? Is that what is going to happen?
If you like, what I can do is the table that's presented in your agenda package, I could go through. There's a recommendation aligned with each of the committees. And just get direction on that, i.e. a new cemeteries bylaw that just cleans up all the language and makes it a little bit tidier would be the first one. I'll just go through the list like that, if that works for everybody, yes?
Yes.
That works, okay. So first item was the West Nipissing Cemetery Board. Staff is recommending presenting a new bylaw that will tidy up the language and create just a housekeeping item. Yes.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that would typically be carried out. The board itself would work on that bylaw and then bring it back with a recommendation to council.
Okay, make it so. Okay, so convening a meeting of the cemetery board so they can work on the new bylaw. Yes, let's see some hands, please. Thank you. Just West Nipissing Quarter Revision, anything required on that, Madam
No,
Clerk?
it's entirely legislated.
Okay, West Nipissing Environmental Services Board, that is managed by their Board of Directors. Okay, and is there any real issues there to be brought to that board?
It appears that they did amend, they obviously function through the letters patent that govern the corporation. However, they do have a terms of reference which was revised in 2022.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Planning Advisory Committee, and that is again a legislated.
Planning Advisory Committee is legislated, however, it does function under a bylaw,
Okay,
which was adopted by, a new bylaw was adopted by council in 2022.
there any issues with that specific bylaw that you discovered in your review?
No, it's fairly straightforward, and unless council would want to have a more, it strictly sets out what the role and responsibilities, if council wanted to have a more fulsome procedural bylaw for that committee, that would be up to council.
Any interest in? I would say, I mean, you've done a lot and we don't want to overburden you. So if my opinion is if it functions okay from a staff perspective. Okay, if somebody's got something to say, I just. Property standards we've discussed, so that will follow in the process that we just discussed on that. Accessibility Advisory Committee was updated quite recently.
December.
So I think that's fine. The Agricultural Advisory Committee, I know Councillor Ferrin, as a member of that committee, you had identified some gaps in the terms of reference for that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mhm.
I would convene again, with
Yeah.
a meeting of the Ag Committee. They're meeting quite regularly recently anyway, so
Okay.
could
If we
perhaps,
could put that on the agenda
Yep.
for their next meeting. Okay, Police Services Board is outside of our authority. And the three advisory committees of council, those were all updated within this term. Okay, and are they all kind of consistent? If I put them next to each other, do they look like sisters? Yes, okay, wonderful. So any desire in any of those? So the only things I have from this list are the cemetery board. You know, if there's a slow planning advisory committee meeting and you want to throw it on just as a review by the committee, you could, but. And then the Agricultural Advisory Committee.
and there are some gaps in the Ag Committee. The basic premise of the committee is still current, but we could revisit the agricultural organizations that provide advice as well, so.
Yeah, I think that would probably be wise because we have some very active and engaged organizations in the community that I think could play a really good role. Counselor, don't do it. CEO is much better. Mr. Pinal.
Just pointing out, Madam Mayor, that we discussed the Committee of Adjustments, and I see that was last updated in 2010, that there are no TORs or regulatory provisions, but it's dealt with by bylaw.
It functions under provincial legislation.
Is it still current though after 2010? I thought I remembered looking at that one and thinking like it was not very
It's again, it's like planning advisory. It's very plain. It just sets out what the responsibilities are. There's no procedural.
okay.
Nothing in it procedurally. It's just a
Okay.
establishing bylaw, more or less.
Okay. Anything else? Councillor Ravar.
The recreation and culture, I was just wondering if that use a look just because it's been next to impossible to get quorum because, you know, we're trying to get people who are active in the community. It's pretty difficult to find, you know, everybody who can meet one night of the week because everybody is doing their own thing, volunteering on so many fronts. So I'm not too sure if we need to revise that or just look at the future of that committee as a whole as well. It's just been very difficult. And I believe there's the youth members required as well in there. So maybe that's just something we can look at and have an honest conversation about how we see that moving forward.
really brought for future discussion. I would recommend that we council look at the roles and responsibilities of these advisory committees. Generally, an advisory committee is referred subject matters by council to provide advice to council on current issues. And we have had some members of the Rec and Culture Committee resign, and we just have not been able to fill those vacancies. And so it has been difficult. So I think an overall look from council at a certain point, whether it's this year or moving forward, that we look at the makeup and the roles and responsibilities of these committees. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to bring back the advisory committees as like part of, like, under their individual banners on our committee of the whole at some point in the next, it's not emergent, but maybe if we could set the kind of tone before the end of the term, it leaves it in good position for the start of the next term.
We'll note that and we'll bring it back.
Okay. All good. Any other questions or comments on the terms of reference piece? Okay. Good. Thank you. Next, proposed amendments to the short-term bylaw. I will ask Councillor Gagne to chair this portion of the meeting.
Yes.
Sorry, I would usually go to deputy, at school, but I realized it. In the cloud.
Thank you very much. So we had a discussion at our last meeting in regards to some potential changes that were actually shared and submitted by, I think was Conseiller Ferrand and Conseiller Nicol, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember I know a few of them, but I don't know if one of you would like just to repeat what the recommendation you had put forward in regards to some changes. But Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I set in the staff report that accompanies the item has addressed the proposals as they were presented in Councillor Ferrand's initial request. So I can quickly go through them or.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay. So the first amendment that was proposed was to address the initial 1 kilometer radius prohibition, which had initially been adopted into the bylaw. For those who don't recall, the decision was made that so at a point in time, there would a 1 kilometer radius around that particular point or the limits of that particular property, that no other short-term rental could establish itself. The reason for this request was that it may be limiting people from obtaining licenses, and also it is problematic in the more densely populated areas where properties are closer together. So in the report, I provided a variety of options for council to perhaps look at to address the issue. The first one, which would be to to set up kind of a minimum distance separation and make it so that it addressed urban properties or rural properties. Obviously, urban properties are closer together, to set that radius, that 1 kilometer radius, at a smaller number, and maybe a little bit larger in the rural areas, and then something in the middle, perhaps for waterfront areas, because the lots tend to be a little bit smaller in that area too. Council could also set up a per street limitation where, perhaps, from intersection here to here, no more than 1, or on, this particular street, no more than 2. You could also set up limitations where they couldn't be side by side. You can set up a density cap within a defined area. So you could say no more than, 10 from, this, from Nipissing Street to Coursall Road and, Highway 17 to something like that. Those are some of the options. There's a variety of options in different bylaws that I looked at. So it's up to council how they want to address that particular point. If there's a will, obviously, to reduce that 1 kilometer radius, provision in the current bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. So I'll open it up for questions by councilors. Monsieur Fagat, Councillor Fagat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'll just, if I can give my feedback, and first of all, I also want to thank Madam Clerk and her team for the work you've done on this and some of the other files. And I wasn't really expecting it would come back so quickly, so I think we really appreciate that. I agree with the suggestion for a reduced minimum distance separation of 200 meters. I think it still achieves what we wanted to achieve in the original bylaw, but will allow for more properties to be licensed. I'm not sure that we need a minimum distance separation for the rural and urban properties, because that's not really where the demand is for licenses. So I don't see the need to put an MDS in those circumstances. I don't really think the per street limit or the density cap would work. I think they're a bit too complex to define properly, and I think we should stick to the system we have now, but maybe just reduce the distance. I definitely agree with increasing the number of licenses per owner to 3. As was pointed on the report, I don't really think that it will result in clustering particularly, and we still have the MDS to prevent that. I do agree. I know I had suggested we remove the phone numbers. I agree with the reasons why the phone numbers have to remain, and also, I thought there are ways. People can subscribe to internet phone numbers that can be forwarded to their personal numbers that they can use only for STR licensing, so they wouldn't have to reveal their own personal number. But having said all that, we absolutely need a separate enforcement policy or strategy, whatever you call it, that should be announced publicly and that we follow through on in the coming weeks, because I think it's now long overdue.
Thank you, Councillor Fagat. Any more questions? Councillor Lagapie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many license do we have now? I remember you said it, but how many?
15.
15. And how many were suspected of prior to the licensing in West Nipissing? How many homes were suspected of short-term rentals?
I don't know. I
Well,
never.
quite a few, if I'm not mistaken, in the hundreds.
Well, it's difficult on those search engines. They're not precise in terms of area. So when you search in an area, it would also pick up French River, might pick up St. Charles, might pick up, it's difficult to say.
Well, with that being said, I think there is room for more licensing, but around the waterways where the lakes are at capacity, or near capacity, I think it should remain the same as we got now, same licensing that we got. And another question, if I may, where are the lacking of license, that there's more demand? Like Councillor Fagat said, there's areas that are asking for more than others. Is it rural or is it in town?
Mr. Chair, all but one of the licenses currently issued are on waterfront properties.
They're all on waterfront properties. And also, when you did put that law together, I wasn't around the table at the time. Was there was it mentioned that, or did you pass saying that the resident, the one that owns the short-term rental needs to live in West Nipissing? Because I've noticed that there's a lot of complaints, and from what the complaints that I had, it's people that were living down south. and they had one person here cleaning up, whatever, but the owner was not there watching the prop. So by imposing this on the short-term rental, the person would be living here, would be able to handle if there is any.
Currently, the
people that
bylaw,
Take it on the house or something.
currently the bylaw does not require the owner to be a resident. But we do have to have a designated responsible person appointed who can attend at the property within 30 minutes. So like you said, a caretaker.
Mhm.
So if they're non-resident, they must have somebody appointed who we have their contact information and it's posted at the rental property as well. So that's the person who's the designated responsible if there's a incident. But currently, no, there's no prohibition against non-residents having a license.
Well,
I would suggest if we increase the licensing in one area, that we do consult with, if there's a lake association, that we consult with them to see what they think about it and, have a dialogue before increasing.
okay, thank you, Conseiller Larrabee. Conseiller Saint-Louis.
Um, we're saying that we have 15 right now. And we set a cap,
Yes,
and it was around the
100.
100, right? Okay. And how many individuals are seeking a license that are not able to get any because of the distance?
Through Mr. Chair, we had one.
Okay.
They did actually appeal the refusal of their license. And the actually met before the property standards bylaw committee who heard their appeal and granted them the license. It was a circumstance where they had previously bought the properties side by side. Were unaware that the bylaw had come into force and were unable to get the second license, legalize the second one, so.
Yeah, thank you. So I recall when we first started discussing this, I thought that 1 kilometer was way too much. So I 100% agree with bringing that down. As to raising the amount of license, I don't think we need to until we get to the number of 60, 70, 80. Then we can, it's a bylaw, so we can revisit that at that point in time. Now, if the only people approaching us is people that have 15, yes, don't get me wrong, I think everybody or anybody that has them should register. But
I think the request was not to increase the number of total licenses. I think the request was to allow more licenses per individual.
yeah, I saw that part too, yes, up from 1 to 3, and I am fine with that. But I also heard comments that to increase the licenses, so I thought that's what they were getting at.
I believe it's already capped at 100.
Yeah.
Thank you, Conseiller Saint-Louis. Any more questions or comments? Conseiller Nicol.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. For recommendation number 1, I agree with the suggested distances you offered, Madam Clerk. And I think it will work in all of these areas. I know there's not a ton of rentals in some of these locations, but I think it's good to have them just in case one day down the road it becomes a problem. And then, oh, it just jumped. When you said keep the phone number on the site, I agree with that now after hearing why, and I think it's good to have an emergency contact available. And I'll come back to it because I just lost my page. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Conseiller Nichols. Any more questions? Conseiller Fad, Conseiller Pellerin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moi, juste un commentaire. Si on augmente les licences à 3, même si ce serait juste une, j'aimerais que si une personne n'appartient pas à un lot comme c'est là dans la municipalité, quelqu'un qui n'achète un pour faire un Airbnb devrait être résident de la municipalité. Et surtout si on va à 3, quelqu'un qui vient dans le Douar va acheter ça pour en faire une business. Il n'est pas autour pour écouter les bons négatifs des voisins. C'est ça mon commentaire.
Merci, Conseiller Doyen. Conseiller Pellerin. So Conseiller Pellerin just said that if anybody needs to get 3 licenses, that he would recommend that they be a citizen of West Nipissing to be able to have 3 licensing. So that's a request that was that has been made. Thank you, Conseiller Pellerin. Conseiller Larrabee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also remember hearing about this is, one of the reasons why you wanted to limit the amount of licenses per person is because there was a shortage of apartments, people to live. So if you increase that to 3 per person, then you are going back creating this problem that people got a hard time finding apartments or homes to stay in. Right now, they're limited to 1. They have 3. They rent. They put them up for rent for, for a family to live in. But if we go back, if you go back to 3, then you're creating that problem too. But I'm definitely in favor of what Monsieur Farah Pellerin said.
Thank you very much, Conseiller Larrabee. Any more questions or comments by board members? Conseiller Resto.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the comments around the table. I think even the new revised numbers still leave enough space in between potential properties. But going back to Councillor Ferran's, one of his comments earlier, and I know he's mentioned this in other areas, I think one of the areas that we really have to start to clamp down on is the enforcement piece. Because we can talk and revise this document 10 times if we want to, but if we're not going to enforce what we recommend or change, then what really is the purpose of making any changes if we're not enforcing what we have? And I know, to say that there's 15 licenses, that's great. I think we can all honestly say we know that there's a lot more properties within the municipality who are currently using the different sites for Airbnbs. So we know there's more than 15 in our municipality. So that might be a separate exercise. But I think it's something that we definitely need to clamp down on is the enforcement of the bylaw. Otherwise, what's the purpose of revising this if it's not going to be, if we're not going to put the muscle behind the enforcement part, then why are we even considering revisions to it? So I know it might be a little bit a separate exercise, but just to keep that in mind, I hope we can move forward with a little bit more on the enforcement piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Conseiller Resto. Any other comments before I make my last comments before we kind of get to an agreement? Conseiller Ferrin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, one thing I just want to point out, that if we can get all the short-term bylaw, short-term rental properties to apply for a license, and that combined with the fines that would be issued for non-compliance would probably go a long way into paying the cost of a full bylaw officer. And I do have a question about we also have to decide whether we put the fines back. I had suggested we put the fines back to $1,000 since the bylaw is now under AMPS. And I'm just wondering what Madam Clerk would suggest in this regard. I know in the report it was mentioned that maybe we would have both the Provincial Offences Act and AMPS, and I don't understand how this could be working together, and how it would affect the level of fines if we're still using POA.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's a decision of council. There's no requirement to enforce them under both sets of provisions. It is possible. However, with POA, as I indicated before, the province does have to approve the fines, which is where we're at. The numbers that we're at now were the ones that were approved by the provincial offense, by the province. If council were to decide we don't want to do a POA on this at all, and strictly enforce it under AMPS, then we can set the fines at whatever we please and just remove the Provincial Offences Act provisions from the bylaw entirely. But you can run two if there's a will to do so. It's just amendments to the bylaw and careful wording.
We'll see if I can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I personally, I don't, since the short-term rental bylaw affects individual property, so it's linked to a property, which means that AMPS, I think, would be sufficient because the fine would be issued against the property and would go on the property's tax bill. So I don't see, unless there is an advantage of keeping POA for this, I don't see that there's any need for it, and it only restricts us into leaving the fines at the level that was reduced by the provincial court. I would much rather see our fine set at $1,000 and just have this administered through AMPS.
You see if I can. So any other last comments before I go through the decision making? Because we need to make decisions on the adjustment. None? Okay. I just have one questions before we move on, which is so most of our complaints came from properties on waterfront. Is that 200 meters sufficient, especially for the complaints that we got from, I think it was like Kathleen was the most pronounced issues? Is that 2 meter buffer enough or not enough?
That's just a number that I picked, and like I said, indicated that most waterfront lots are between 30 and 60 meters wide. So 250 meters would take you, every fourth or fifth property. It would not allow them to be side by side.
Okay. Okay, because I'm just thinking on like Keshi, I know there's a lady that came and she just made the comments, live between two a short-term rental property for a whole summer, and you'll understand why I'm not complaining. So I just want to make sure we're not missing, if we're adjusting, we're not missing the boat on that specific complaint, which I think was more than viable. So
Well, and that was one. There was only one at that location.
Yeah.
It was just one problematic one.
Okay.
There wasn't another one close to it. It was just
okay,
a single one. That wouldn't change, that the change in our bylaw wouldn't have any effect on a
Okay.
single bad one.
okay, perfect.
That's enforcement.
Okay, so I'll just go through the list, and if so, is everybody in agreement with the restrictions or the adjustment to the distance? Instead of being 1 kilometer, it would be urban settlement area, Cashby, Swing Falls and Verna, which would be 100 meters. Rural settlement area, field living in River Valley, 150, and waterfront cottages area would be 200. Is everybody in agreement? Show of hands, please. Thank you very much. So we have that, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, you,
Good. Okay. And the next item was to increase the licenses per owner to 3. And I see a show of hands who's in agreement for licenses per owner. Per owner. Oh, go ahead. Question?
Vas-tu mettre là-dedans la clause qu'il faut que tu sais?
Oh, yeah, and
Incident?
yeah, and Conseiller Pellerin added that if you're gonna own 3 licensing, you must be a resident of the municipality. So I'll put that up for vote to see who wants 3 licenses, and you must be a resident of West Nipissing.
The reason I'm saying that, just thinking somebody from neighboring municipality or even from Toronto, 3 Airbnb is big enough to make a business. And I don't want it to turn into businesses. We've got lodges for that. So being from the area, you call him, there's a problem. You don't call this Iron Apple. That's the reason, because you see the apartment blocks, the rents in town. We see people from Toronto buying those, renovation to keep people out, because there's money to be made. So I don't want this to go that way.
Mhm.
That's the reason I brought this up.
Okay. Good. Okay, so I'll bring it back again. 3 licenses, and if so, you need to be a resident of the municipality. Show of hands who's in favor of that request. 2, 3, 4, 5. Madam Clerk?
Just for clarification, if you have 3, but if you only have 2 or 1, you can still be.
Yep.
Okay.
Excuse me, if I may, on the last one that we voted prior is, I would like to add, if council wish to add it on, that we do consult with the association of those areas. This is gonna affect the organizations of all those lakes. So if, you know, if it's spanned, wide enough, no problem, but they also should have a say in this, because it's their area, it's their home.
Yeah, I think the span is wide enough, like it's every 4th or 5th camps that will be. So the distance, but could we consult, Madam Clerk, with the camping association?
That
Oh, the lake.
council direction, we did consult, I think fairly heavily, but we could certainly, it's entirely up to council if you want to go back to consultation.
Okay, Councilor Nicole.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. License or not, would they still not be renting out the properties on the lake? Do we necessarily need to consult with them? Because just because there's 3 licenses on the lake doesn't mean there's not more rentals, right? So would it be necessary to meet with the lake associations, do you think?
I'm not getting the.
So whether they're licensed or not, they're still renting the properties. So do we need to meet with the lake associations for their approval if they're renting them either way? Does that make sense?
Oh, they're renting to a homeowner, you mean? The person using it as a home instead of a weekend. Because
No.
They're renting it privately, not on Airbnb.
Yeah.
Currently, that's what they're doing. So we don't know. Once they license it, at least we know how many they are because they have to license it. They don't have a choice. So at least we'll know. And then if there's an issue, then I think we should consult with the association to see how things are going. Well, we'll know who's licensed and who's not on waterways. At least we'll know that. Right now, we don't know. Yeah. So that's a good comment. Conseiller Fagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I suggest that I think we'll probably today decide on roughly what the draft will look like, and maybe Madam Clerk can send the draft to the different lake associations to ask for their comments that we could consider when we sit down again to pass the bylaw. But I don't want to, we don't want to delay this, and I think that could be done relatively quickly.
A great suggestion, Conseiller Fagan. Would the council be in agreement that we do both at the same time and at least they have time to give us some feedback? Well, we can at least move forward because it's already in existence, whether we change it or not right now. So, okay. So Madam Clerk, are we good with that?
Yep.
So we've covered that. And I don't think there was any discussions as per street limitation density. So we're good with that, right?
No, we're good.
No overlay. So the next one would be the to increase the Class B licensing to be issued to a single owner. We changed that to 3, right? So we're good with that.
We're just at the fines.
Okay, yeah. So the fines, do we want to change the current structure instead of being POA fines? We change it to amps, and Conseiller Fagan suggested that we put the fine at $1,000. Conseiller Fagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, can I just clarify? The short-term rental bylaw is already governed under AMPS. When we introduced AMPS, it was part of the list of bylaws that changed to AMPS. So it is governed by AMPS. So the question, I think, would be whether we also introduce POA, which I've said previously, I don't think is necessary. I think, I'm still suggesting that we leave it under AMPS and we simply put the fines back to $1,000, which was the original intention of council in 2024.
Thank you very much. So I won't repeat that. So is council in agreement for this adjustment? Yeah. Conseiller Pellerin.
What's the fine, what was the fine before that, before the public?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the fines ranged from 500 to 1,000. When we sent it to the province, the ones that were set for 500 got put down to 250, and the ones that were set for 1,000, the ones that were set for 500 got put down to 250. The ones that were set for 1,000 got put down to 500. So the province cut them in half.
But they thought it was excessive.
That's correct.
Which I'm kind of in agreement. I would say first time you get this, a second time, then you get mail.
We can't do both. So it's either we
Well,
we lower amps as requested by the province at that, or we remove the portion of the province and we leave it with our amps and we charge what was in the bylaw before, which would be $1,500. But those are the only two options. So who's in agreement with Conseiller Farrand to just use the amps as a set fine? Good. Okay, perfect. So that is done. And does that cover everything, Madam Clerk, that you needed, that information?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we'll make the arrangement, and was there consensus to send the draft out to the various lake associations before we bring it back to council?
Please show a hand, please. We share it with, yeah, that is, yes.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Mayor.
you.
And back to you, Madam Mayor. Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering, how will we do this on Lake Nipissing?
There is a lake association that rest of the lake doesn't, there's only one organized group on Lake Nipissing, of which I'm aware.
French River is not.
The Upper French River Cottagers Association
Oh, yeah.
is very active.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Conseiller Resto.
You three, Mr. Chair, in agreement, I think we've already voted, but I just, for clarification, can we get like a rough time frame on when it's gonna go out to the associations and when it may be back? And I say that respectfully and give yourself enough time to, I'm not in a rush, but I know we're talking about trying to get this implemented for this coming season. So just so we have a sense of when it may be back.
I will say optimistically March, but realistically April. Is that okay?
Good. Did you get that, Conseiller Resto?
Yeah, I did, and I appreciate that. It's just for expectations, right? We don't wanna push things through too quickly, but also just so we know when to look for it coming back. So thanks for the response.
Oh, and there's just one item. Can we get a sense of what kind of enforcement, because that was brought up by Conseiller Farrand also. Can we make sure that once we finalize that enforcement will be dedicated to maybe push this bylaw as much as we can, and if not, when maybe we'll need to hire a third bylaw enforcement or something. If that's an issue. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 5.1.4, which is the draft noise bylaw. This again was an item brought forward by Councillor Ferran at the last meeting. As somebody else, and I can't remember who already said, I would like to acknowledge Madam Clerk, who, when we look at what is being brought forward in this entire general government meeting, has been extraordinarily busy over the last month fulfilling council's various but very reasonable requests. But I would just like to acknowledge that a lot of work has gone into everything here. So With that, there is a staff report, and I'll pass it to Mr. Pilon for an overview, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and yes, again, I will reiterate your comments to Madam Clerk on her work on this, specifically this particular item, if she's taken the time to actually provide a bit of a draft as well, based on a modernization of our noise control bylaw, moving towards a more reasonableness-based approach with that emphasizes clarity, flexibility, and ease of enforcement. And that's really through her research. She's come up with, obviously, she details some of the key features of the proposed bylaw, taking into consideration the various recommendations that had been made with respect to some of the gaps that our previous bylaw had. It talks more about reinforcing protections of quiet zones and specific activities, but it's a little bit more broader and open to interpretation. And from our perspective, this is really a good start for a framework that enables our bylaw enforcement to be able to be really a little bit more proactive, but also to have some better tools in the toolbox when it comes to enforcing some of those more nuanced, I will say, infractions that we've seen historically over the last number of years since the current bylaw was enacted back in 1999. So I think we all have the packages in front of you. If there's any questions and discussions, we certainly are open to hearing your comments on this piece and any further recommendations you may have as a group.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pilon. I'll open the floor for questions or comments. Okay, okay. I was gonna fill a gap, but I'll go to Councillor Ristool first, please.
You, Madam Mayor. I've always had I don't know, an indifferent thought about this, I guess, but when I look at first I'll start by saying thank you again, like you mentioned, for the speed and getting this back and the detail that's in there. That's great. I appreciate it. But I always had a kind of indifferent thought about the Schedule E on the bylaw, which is the recurring year over year kind of pre-approving certain events. I'd honestly say I don't think I'm 100% supportive of this. I think if there's a process in place and it is outlined within the draft bylaw where requests come to council for specific events, I'd probably be a lot more in favor of using that process as one-offs. I know it does create a little bit more work in terms of receiving these, putting them on agendas, getting them approved. So I am cognizant of that in terms of a little bit extra work, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I think if I use something similar, and we'll be discussing this later on our agenda, but with the discretionary grants, we see those every year, and people who apply for those have to apply each year, and we review them each year. So I think it might be a little bit consistent with this bylaw to have the individuals put forward. And the other thing I think I mentioned when we first had approved this change, in the last couple of years of our term or previous couple of years, even with the dates in there, I find it's not consistent because those will change every year as well as the calendar changes and days shift. We have, for an example, Ram Rodeo on the 6th and 7th of September. I don't think next year it's going to be the 6th and 7th. It'll shift over and that'll be like a Monday, Tuesday. So the dates I wasn't in favor of that in the first place, but just that whole Schedule E or Appendix E, I'm not sure exactly how it's worded. I'm not a fan of that. And I'd recommend consideration from those around the table to maybe taking that off. And if people want to apply for that be done. And, I'm not suggesting this, but because we have this, and I understand that it can be repealed or we can change it year over year. But if we do have some, complaints from the public, and again, going back to enforcement of this through our bylaw officers, if people are allowed at 2:30 in the morning, it's going to be very difficult to enforce. And if I'm looking at that list, I think there's 4 or 5 events on there that are put on by the same group. So if there's an issue on the first event, then how does that affect the second, third, fourth, fifth event? Sorry for being a little bit long-winded, but again, if we're looking at this as a draft, that's my recommendation, is to consider removing that Schedule E, because I think it's covered earlier in the bylaw anyways, in terms of people applying for requests.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor Restall. What I'd like to do is just have a discussion specifically on that point. Put that to a vote. If we want to take that out, then we can move on to next questions or comments. Councillor Ferrer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree entirely, and I was going to make the same point. I think the recurring events should apply for their noise exemption, and I will say this: some of these events have been the subject of noise complaints, and I think as council we should have the opportunity to sit down and consider these requests, and maybe even make the decision that we would not grant the exception if there's repeated problems with certain events. So yes, I totally agree with Councillor Ristoul on this, and I'll bring my other points up later.
Okay, thank you. If anybody else wants to make a question or comment, or I'll just put that to a vote. Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I don't think I see it in a different way. I don't think that the permit will stop the noise or increase the noise. We know that these events are reoccurring yearly or monthly, and the permit won't stop the noise. And we know this has been going on. There's a festival in River Valley that's been going on for 45 years. Okay, and they were shown respect by giving them a granted to the noise bylaw, which they've respected. Okay, so I don't think that permit will change anything. If you have an event and there is a noise, there is a complaint, it should be addressed, not having them come back because it's going to happen anyways. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on the Schedule E? Okay, so there's been a proposal put forward that Schedule E be removed from the proposed bylaw. I'd like to see who would be in favor of that. Okay, that's remove Schedule E. Yearly exemptions moved. Councillor Ferrand, did you want to go next with another point within the bylaw?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had
Sorry, can we do them one at a time though, if you have more than one?
Absolutely.
Let's
Yes,
do
sure.
one issue. Let's do it like that. One issue, we'll discuss it, we'll yay or nay, and then move on. Thank you.
Okay, I had suggested that we ban construction noises that for construction that does not hold a valid building permit, and if not, then they would have to apply for an exemption. And I was just wondering what staff thought of that, and maybe there is a reason why it wasn't put in the draft bylaw.
Okay, so Mr. Pilon, do you want to address that? Do you want me to send it my address? Is it my right hand, my left hand man, or my right hand woman who wants to answer that question?
So the question, sorry, Councillor, just if I'm understanding it, before construction noise bylaw or an infraction based on construction outside of an approved sort of project kind of thing, or approved?
I'll clarify. So I think that there have been a couple of instances where there have been complaints based on basically using construction noises as a weapon to terrorize neighborhoods. And so I think the ask was to try to address, like, is there a reasonable amount of construction noise? Councillor Ferrand suggested that there be language that you know, kind of continuous, construction noise, like on a day-to-day basis have to be accompanied by a building permit, but I don't know how you would do that. And like home handymen who are, you know,
There's lots of things you don't need a permit for.
yeah. So her answer was there are a lot of things you don't need a permit for that you could be doing construction.
Could there be some inclusion about quiet time for construction then?
The,
'Cause I- Schedule C, there's no quiet hours.
we just haven't put those in yet.
Okay,
Well, the quiet times are 11 to 7.
so we could, if I may, Madam Mayor, we could include a schedule for actual, I will say, approved construction. And just, we could put something in for sort of residential construction or whatever you want to call it. Or, you know, construction outside of an approved permit or authorization. For quiet times, right? Because I believe the issue you're referring to was that these things were going on in all hours, but was it also during the daytime? Maybe if you'd be more specific, sir.
Yes, I mean, some at all hours and some during the daytime. As long as I suppose the bylaw officer will have the discretion to decide whether the noise is genuine construction noise or whether it's an unreasonable noise. And I just the only reason I suggested this was yeah, but I can see that there are a lot of construction noises that don't require a building permit. But
You know, through you, Madam Mayor, I think we can come up with something, sure, that Councillor Fanatic, perhaps in draft format, that maybe we can look to address that specific activity.
Well, I would say on the Schedule C for construction, item 5 says construction noise that is excessive, prolonged, or disruptive to nearby residents. But even that seems a little like, I don't know who determines what is what is prolonged. Is prolonged an hour? Is prolonged 12 hours? Is prolonged, 4 days? And so, it becomes a little subjective.
And through you, Madam Chair, noise bylaws are subjective and they're very difficult because what one person doesn't think is allowed at all, it might drive somebody else crazy. It becomes down to the bylaw officer to determine whether or not to make the call on whether they believe it's excessive. It's short of buying like a noise meter, setting a decibel level. For different things, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Wait, we're gonna stay on the construction noise topic, Councillor Rivard.
Yeah, I think it should only relate to quiet hours for construction. I don't really see, like, if somebody's hobby is cutting trees and it's bothering, like, I'm not too sure what to do, or if it's, if he's building some docks, that's his little side gig. Or I also see this one, number 3 or number 2, carrying out construction activities on a Sunday or stat holiday. As someone who works full time, those are the only days I can build stuff in the backyard. Yeah. And a lot of it doesn't need a permit, a lot of it needs a permit, but something like that, I would not want to see in here on the Sunday or stat holiday. It's a lot of people, that's the only time they can do work. And then I'm thinking in my realm as well with these sewage systems. A lot of people, those homeowners who are doing it themselves, they often tell me, I want you there first thing Monday morning because I work all week and I can only do it Saturday, Sunday. That's machinery, trucks dropping off material. I don't know, at this point, something like that. I like the idea of quiet hours or the construction noise that's excessive or prolonged, and then it becomes subjective at that point for those real bad cases. But I told people that they can't build a shed on a Sunday. If it's loud, I'm not for that. So.
Okay, so there's let me Okay, so there is a proposal to remove item 2 from Schedule C, which is the Sunday or statutory holidays. May I just ask before we vote on that, are the quiet hours for construction-related activities different than normal quiet hours? Construction noises go right up until 11 p.m.?
For the purpose of the,
Like you have quiet hours, so when you look at,
well, operating mechanical, electrical equipment during quiet hours. Could make that more specific to include construction.
okay, okay, we'll deal with number 2 first. Who would be in favor of removing? Yeah, Counselor Sandy.
I don't know if I'm reading it differently. It doesn't, the way I read this, it doesn't say you can't work on a Sunday or a Saturday. It just means in my mind, you can't work on a Sunday or a Saturday between 11 o'clock at night till 9 in the morning. Is that how this is being proposed?
No, Schedule C is different than Schedule B. Schedule B is the quiet hours. Schedule C, those are straight prohibitions, construction prohibitions.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so who would like to have number 2 removed? That's go. Please. Okay, and then we were. If we leave in number 5, then that's to the discretion of the office. So it is something that is nuisance related, you know, prolonged disruptive to nearby residents. If it's something that's causing multiple complaints, then it would be to the discretion of.
And number 7 might cover that off too.
So keep like, just looking for guidance. We're on construction noise. Councilor Rivard.
Yeah, to me, I guess number 7 kind of takes care of everything. Say you get a complaint and then it's determined at that point to be excessive and the bylaw officer gives a warning and then it keeps going, then it's. You have the authority to.
Councilor, Mr. Pilon.
Yeah, there's a provision within Schedule A as well, number 10. Use of tools, devices, or equipment in a manner that causes us unreasonable noise is a general prohibition. It would be perhaps would
Cover.
cover that type of activity. Still like I said, Councilman.
Okay, so is there a proposal to remove number 5? Is that a question or is that a yes?
So now my proposal would just be to remove Schedule C, similar to Schedule E. That construction, and then it's covered in Schedule A, number 10, essentially.
Did you? Proposals to remove Schedule C in its entirety?
Schedule C, the construction, yeah, because most of it now is covered within Schedule A, number 10.
Okay, that proposal's on the table. Who would be in favor of completely removing Schedule C? Is that's your hand up for that? Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, so my question is, but under Schedule B with the quiet hours, somebody permitted to carry on construction activities until 11 o'clock at night?
They are now.
I think it falls within a certain level of noise.
Yeah.
And after quiet hours, it's quiet hours, right?
Yeah.
So some people will be engaging, whether it's, as you say, building a shed, sawing, mowing, doing all those activities, or even constructing, right, digging a hole with a backhoe. Drain.
I guess my only concern on that is like, I'm thinking more, I'm not thinking of home handyman construction, I'm thinking about somebody building a house next to my house. And if the noise is consistent, now they're allowed to build on Sundays, so I don't even get one day where I don't have to listen to hammers and tools and this and that all day long, and then the noise is also going. So like that's what I'm thinking when I'm thinking construction noise. I'm not thinking about somebody building a shed in the backyard where it goes on for, 4 days or whatever. But if you're building a house and it's kind of going out, there's no rest on Sunday. And I mean, there are people who have young kids who might want their kids to go to bed at 7 at night. And, like I'm thinking more of commercial construction and how to, anyway, that's why I asked whether that was already permitted or whether there were.
And in most bylaws, these are the standard quiet hours.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Pedery.
Yeah, and on that note, I think it should be allowed because we had that experience last summer or 2 summers, I think, the lake. Somebody was building a garage and he worked, and when he got home, all we could hear is the hammer, and people were complaining, close your windows. Like, the guy's got to build his garage, and it's not the end of the work.
Yes. Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I see what Councillor Pellerin is saying, but I also understand what Madam Mayor is saying. Do we want, there's a difference between somebody building a shed in their backyard and a house being built next to your property with saws and power tools going off until 11 o'clock at night. It's I would find that quite disturbing.
Councillor Rivard.
So I'd just like to mention that if they're working later hours too, it means the duration of the build should also be shorter. So you're benefiting in that way, right? If you're allowing work on the Sunday, 7 Sundays, next thing you know, the work's done a week earlier. So there's a positive there.
Okay.
But yeah, just a way to pause. And I was wondering if at that point, where was that number 10? Yeah, and then does it mention quiet hour or no, just general prohibition? I wonder if you could do general prohibition with quiet hours, you just put it an hour or two earlier. Right within that number 10, right? So you have all these different schedules with all these different prohibitions, but for that one about tools, use of tools, devices, or equipment in a manner that causes unreasonable or repetitive noise. If you do something like 9 a.m. between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. is fine, 10 p.m. is fine, or 9 to 9 is fine. Are you able to add something like that in that schedule A? That's the concern until 11 p.m. And just instead of having tons of different tables, that one clause that kind of covers it. But
Schedule A is just general prohibitions that are listed in the bylaw.
They're not.
They're not hourly. The quiet time is a different schedule. Do we want to set a different quiet time for big construction? I don't know.
just a suggestion if we could.
Councillor Bonnie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Have you had any noise complaints for construction of houses?
Not to my knowledge.
So I'll just make a comment. I built my house in about 4 months and I worked every night till 11 because the bylaw said no noise after 11. And from 11 to 12, I clean up my site. And I did that 4 months straight. So it is a necessity because our seasons are so short to be able. And if we want to build more houses, we need people working longer hours if we want to build them faster. So I would leave it as is. And if we get complaints, we can deal with it at that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I suggest as a compromise that we just slightly reduce it? I think 11 might be. I mean, it's dark even during the longest days of the year. It's dark from 9:30. So would you really need to be still building at 11 o'clock at night? Maybe, 9, 10 o'clock would be more appropriate and would still allow people to work through the evening. But 11 o'clock is a time at which a lot of people have gone to bed. 9 o'clock is not, but I think it needs to be reduced a little bit.
That's specifically for construction noise?
Yeah.
Councillor Pettering.
Sorry, Councillor Ferrer, I disagree with you because there's been no complaints about this happening. And I can remember like Councillor Gagne saying he's building his house and then all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 of your friends come and help you. And you want to finish the roof or something like that. And you're gonna go till 11 and 12 if you can while you got the help. So the odds are that you're gonna get a complaint for building till 11. It's not gonna happen often. You're gonna get the complaints for the parties,
Okay,
not for the building of the house.
okay. I'll put that out as a proposal to reduce construction hours till 9:30. 9,
I'd say 10.
10. And I'll put that out for a show of hands to reduce construction hours. Okay, so that, we've got no support there. The general quiet hours are listed till 9 AM on Sundays, which is nice. Everybody can sleep in a little bit. Should it say Saturday at 11 PM or the night before? It's just weird the way it says Sundays from 11 PM. It's actually 11 PM the night before, but I don't know.
Yeah,
how you would
yeah.
write- I don't know how you would write that. There's got to be a language terminology, but just to be clear that it's
I know what, yeah, it is funny that way.
day -1, Sunday -1,
Yeah, Sunday
or
minus one.
statutory holiday -1. Okay,
We'll reword it to make it make more sense.
you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Okay, is there anything so far that I haven't addressed that we want to get consensus on that I missed during discussion? Okay, next, anybody else, sorry, Councillor Fennec?
Thank you again. I have a list here. There is a noise restriction in the short-term rental bylaw where no noise of any kind is allowed at any time during the day. And I'm just wondering whether that needs to be also spelt out in the noise bylaw.
Like, is there an unreasonable noise limit? Like, how is that dealt with at any time?
If, through you, Madam Chair, when we were doing the short-term rental bylaw, I remember there was discussion about the fact that noise was already covered under the noise bylaw. But there was a wish at the time to have more strict noise rules for short-term than the normal, but that's entirely, we can take that out of the short-term rentals.
So those are all covered under the Schedule A, which is general provisions. And that's at any time. That's not just during quiet hours. So the Schedule A that is there, it's, animals barking at any time of day and not just 1 or 2, but for, an extended period of time. So any of the prohibitions or the infractions listed on Schedule A are not time specific to quiet hours. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does that answer your concern, Councillor Fede?
Well, maybe I'd misunderstood. But for example, I'm assuming that someone can play music outside in their backyard, let's say at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, under the proposed noise bylaw. But I was under the impression, and I don't have the noise bylaw in front of me at the short-term rental bylaw in front of me at the moment. But I was under the impression that the short-term rental bylaw had a noise restriction against any kind of noise at any time of the day, so that someone cannot turn music on in the backyard of the property at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I had read it.
I don't have it here either. And so does that actually relate to this noise bylaw? Because if it's about amending those provisions under the short-term bylaw, then that could be discussed when the short-term bylaw comes back. So in light of the new noise bylaw, we find that it would be reasonable to remove these provisions from the short-term bylaw. Like, I don't know that the question you're asking actually impacts this discussion.
Okay, no, I agree that it should remain in the short-term rental bylaw. I was just questioning whether if there's a noise restriction in the short-term rental bylaw, and I think it should remain in there so that people who are licensed under that bylaw know that there is this noise restriction. I was just questioning whether it should also be duplicated in the noise bylaw, but I'm not, it's not a it was a question more.
We can look to make sure that there's no inconsistency.
Okay. Would you
Okay.
like just to do the cross-reference to make sure that they're consistent?
Yeah,
There's no actual amendments on the Schedule A that you're proposing at this
No.
point. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on any of the provisions or wording in the proposed noise bylaw? And Councilor Nickel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a question on exemption 7H. Would it be possible we could maybe post the contact number similar to the short-term rentals? Because if somebody applies for an exemption and it goes beyond 1 AM, then there's a contact number for the public call person who applied to ask them to turn the music down.
Unless we were, Madam Chair, unless we were publishing our noise exemptions. Currently, we don't publish them anywhere. They're not forward facing. They come to council and we pass a resolution, but we don't post them anywhere. But that's again something if council wanted to start
I was
putting them
trying to
up there
think
somewhere.
of a way to get in contact festival or whoever it is, owners, if they do go beyond the 1 AM. 'Cause you're not gonna call town hall, nobody's gonna be there.
But we do actually, there is somebody here at night. But I don't know whether that would be,
Yeah, I want to get a check on the privacy considerations on that, but I guess once they apply, if there's.
it's in the
It's
bylaw.
on the application when they're applying that's what's gonna happen, then I think it would be like the short-term rental. You're agreeing by application that we can list that contact number, you know?
It's just where it would be listed. So the public can have access to.
And then how it would be, I'm thinking of the work on the staff end to put it on the website and to take it off the website once the event's over and, yeah.
We do circulate when we do a noise exemption, we do circulate that through. It goes to fire, it goes to police. We circulate it through emergency services so that everybody is aware.
Okay, and the fire department is the one that the staffing at the fire department, which is 24/7, is the one that manages the after hours call line. And when that information is circulated, does that include contact information for the applicants for the noise exemption? Like, so
Not
can
currently, but we can.
can Fireman Joe get the call and then call the resident and say, or is that an unreasonable expectation that would maybe fall outside the terms of the collective agreement?
Note of it. For discussion.
Okay.
Not part of
Can you leave that one with staff? And just come back and we can discuss at that time. Councillor Restool?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just, interesting point, I'm just curious about enforcement of that, like, are we gonna start civil disagreements between, if we're publishing my phone number and I'm 135 and I'm still loud music, if my neighbor calls me, okay, thanks, hang up the phone. What happens for enforcement, right? The neighbor's not gonna be able to do anything other than call and say, I have a complaint. I'm just curious how we could enforce that, and would it be any more effective than to just have the person call town hall the next day or the next business day and say, I want to file a complaint because so-and-so went beyond their time for us to deal with it more effectively. And I just don't know what a community member could do to a fellow community member at 1:45 in the morning by giving them a call.
I think, and maybe this is the point, one of, I believe, Councillor Ferrand's in his notice was about the use of like recordings and stuff like that. So is there anything that can be added to the bylaw about people being able to submit their own, like, I don't know how to write that one in, or like
Look into it to see if other bylaws.
reference that at all? Because I think that's an important part, because I think that one of the challenges is enforcement after hours. We don't have 24/7 bylaw enforcement. Counselor. Mr. Pilon. Gonna make a politician of me yet.
I know that was discussed in a recommendation from Councillor Ferrand with regards to potentially a portal on the municipal website where you could submit, via email, whether it's an audio file or a video file, to be considered as evidence with respect to an actual infraction of the noise bylaw and considered by municipal law enforcement. So I think we could maybe look at something like that, and as Clerk is astutely detailed that perhaps the existing bylaws in other areas.
And they could be submitted for this support, as it stands, maybe.
Look at those.
Because there, you can add photos now, I know, because I've sent photos of streetlight numbers. So, okay, so you'll get back to us on that as a, and we can have a fuller discussion. Councillor Ferrand?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are a number of bylaws in Ontario that have evidence submission protocols. That's where I got the idea when I did the research. So there are bylaws that have them, and I think it's so important for us to have that, as long as we're not in a position to have 24-hour bylaw officers coverage, like, for example, like the city of Ottawa. And I don't think we are ever near being able to have 24-hour coverage. I think it's very important it's a very important element of our bylaw, and I really believe it needs to be in there.
I agree. So will you look at that and include some wording around that? Does everybody agree that there should be some kind of evidence submission protocol that? Yes, lovely man. Okay, Councillor Ferrand, we are officially 27 minutes past our break time. And I see everybody has their legs crossed, so can we continue this discussion right where we're leaving off? Councillor Gagne, like they're all rushing to put their hands up. Councillor Gagne, Councillor Peppermint. Okay.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Ferrand. At 8:28 PM, a motion was tabled for a 10-minute recess.
All in favor? Oh, that's defeated. I mean, carried. Okay, welcome back from our brief recess. We are at 5.1.4 draft noise bylaw, and Councillor Ferrer, you're up.
I know I was voting actually.
Oh.
I hadn't raised my hand to speak.
Okay, so we have cut a couple of things. We talked about a couple of other things. We've asked Madam Clerk to come back with, what were they called? Evidence
Submission protocol.
Evidence submission protocols to be added. Any other questions or comments on the draft noise bylaw? Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think, are we at this stage going to decide on levels of fines, or are we going to discuss this?
Okay, Madam Clerk has a question for council.
So with the, similar to the discussion that we had earlier on the short-term rentals, currently this bylaw is enforced under both. We have scheduled for set fines under POA, and it's also included in the short-term rental. Is this one that council wishes to leave in both, or remove it from POA and enforce it strictly under AMPS? And if so, at what level of penalties?
Okay, I will leave that question on the table. Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would suggest the same thing. Again, noise is property related. So we know which property it concerns, and also it will give us the flexibility of setting our own levels of fines, which again, I think here is very important because the fines will need to be prohibitive.
Okay, other questions or comments there? Madam Pratt.
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to mention with that though is that with noise, if we have tenants or tenanted property, then AMPS doesn't necessarily permit us any recourse then against, or any recourse that's collectible against tenants. You know, we can still lay fines against tenants. It's just not being able to, we can't attach them. So they may or may not be collectible, but charges under POA may or may not be collectible against tenants as well. So it is the same, you know, but it is just a consideration with noise.
Okay, I do have a question then. Does the set fine schedules need to be the same from POA and AMPS, or can they be different?
They can be different.
Okay, and there's no reason not to include both, to give flexibility to go through the system that is most effective. Okay, other questions or comments? Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Then if that's possible, and then I think we can have both. We should have both, and we should have two sets of fines for each system.
I would suggest we leave it to staff to recommend appropriate levels of fine based on comparisons. Again, keep us consistent with other municipalities, because you know, I don't know that outside of Councillor Ferrer, any of us have done the research to kind of deem what would be appropriate. So would that be okay with the next version of the draft to come back with recommended levels of fines for the various offenses? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Question?
Yeah.
Okay,
Two questions.
yes.
POA, that's Provincial
Offenses Act, yeah.
Okay, and that we can't use the OPP. Can we?
Oh, through you, Madam Mayor, I know that I believe they have to be designated by the town, so through bylaw, but they are not necessarily designated, so. And I think that question's been asked and answered by the OPP several times over, not enforce municipal bylaws.
My second question, do we have anything specific to dogs?
It is
That's
number,
nine complaints that I hear dogs barking all day and they're tired and the people are gone.
It is item number 2 under Schedule A. And again, with the availability of evidence submission protocols, it makes it a little bit easier to enforce. If it is somebody's calling, then our bylaw officer has to respond. By the time the bylaw officer responds, the dog's not barking anymore or whatever. I think if we include those evidence-based or evidence submission protocols in the bylaw, it becomes a little bit easier to enforce, it's just, there's a full record of it. So.
Yes, this one would be really important to get. You can go both ways.
Go both ways because it could be doing so. Other questions or comments? Okay, great discussion on that. Madam Clerk, everything is clear.
All my notes.
Okay, and with that, we'll close out the 5.1.4. Move on to 5.1.5, which is municipal property matters, and we have 4. So let's start at the start, which is Champagne Road. Mr. Pilon?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and again, my thanks to Madam Clerk, she put quite a bit of work in this. And I know there was some question with regards to some initial discussions on this particular property, that it may not necessarily be, I will say, meet standards for a standalone lot. And Madam Clerk has come back and certainly based on some previous assumptions, that advice or that, I will say that information was not necessarily accurate. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for clarifying that. Once we did have actually the actual schematic and survey of the property and provided that to the proper appraisal firm with respect to how that piece of property could be used. They did confirm that it can be either as 2 different or separate lot additions, but also there is a possibility and certainly within the realm of building lot on its own. And you'll see that information is captured in Madam Clerk's report. And with the supporting documentation with regards to the 2 lot addition, as well as a standalone lot. So, as you can see, some of those values are vastly different, and certainly I'm sure that this will garner some discussion amongst council based on previous discussions on other matters. Back to you.
We are in that.
I don't know how well it was. This year. Put it on. Madam Clerk, an attempt to.
Nothing bad.
No, it's not in my.
It's blank.
It's weird.
Thank you.
Maybe it was added after.
That's the idea. Okay.
No, it was in the initial report.
It's online.
Yeah. Okay, I'll open the floor for questions or comments. You don't need it on your, Rolly, do you have it available to you, the map, Keith? Yeah, okay, that's fine. We don't need them. That's fine. Okay, so questions or comments on the Champagne Road file? Councillor Larrabee?
That map that we have here is provided, the darker line goes right to the river. If I'm not mistaken. Is that lot going right to the river or is it the? Yeah.
The blue, I think the blue signifies the setbacks, the lot setbacks
Okay.
for any kind of construction. So is that you could put a house with the and then there's a certain amount of land that you could build accessory structures on. But you would not be able to do any construction along the red hashed portion, which is the easement. and the 18-meter setback from the water, and then the lot line setback, both on the front, well, rear, because it's waterfront, right? Rear yard setback and the side yard setback to the abutting property.
Perfect. And my concern was the water's edge, but perfect.
Yeah, no, the lot does go right. Other questions or comments? Councillor Pellerin?
I didn't need everything, easement, who owns the easement?
That's an Enbridge gas easement. So people, the property can be owned, but nothing can be constructed on top of it, because Enbridge needs to have access if and when they need to do any, work on the, underground infrastructure.
Okay, so that's the one that a neighbor wanted to do a lot addition. right?
Yeah, for the first neighbor wanted to do the lot addition just of the portion not including the easement. And then the neighbor on the other side indicated that they would be willing to buy the land of the easement.
Okay, and that's where we found out that it can be a standalone lot.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And if I may, one more.
Yep.
So this is an appraisal.
Mhm.
The other are opinion of value. If I get it right. So why,
The difference between the two. Can you
One-
explain
one
the
costs
difference
more?
between appraisal and an opinion of value?
It has to do with the accreditation of the individual carrying it out.
yeah, I know, but why?
In this case, the local person who I would usually do an appraisal or get an opinion of value, had a conflict of interest.
Okay.
So I had to go outside of, Sturgeon.
Okay, so all the others are opinion value from local people.
Potential, I can't remember which ones are which, but I think so, yes.
Okay. So the decision that, Councillor Donnelly.
Yes, Madam Mayor, what's the book value on this piece of property?
$62,362.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the decision of direction that that staff is looking for here is, and I would say that there are three options. The first option, we've already declared the property surplus. I thought I saw.
I think so, yes.
Yes. So the first option is four options. Place it on the market as a single building lot, and hope to get the appraised value of $280,000. The second option is to move forward with the requests for lot additions at the appraised value as a lot addition at 78 and change and 33 and change. I would say the third option is to offer the lot additions, but based on the 280,000 appraised value. And if both parties, only if both parties were agreeable, we could convey it as the lot additions, and the fourth option would be to do nothing and not sell. And so that's the direction that staff is looking for, is how we'd like to proceed at this time. Councillor St. Louis?
What's your third option?
So if we go on the assumption that the lot is valued at $280,000 and the lot addition that doesn't encompass very much waterfront, which is valued at 33 as a lot addition, take that 280 and keep the ratio the same between the two lots, but make it equal 280 instead. So you probably have a $200,000 lot addition on one side, which has the most of the waterfront, and an 80,000 approximately. But like, do the math. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. So do the math,
percentage.
make the two lot additions would equal 280 and keep the ratio between the two the same as the appraised.
Yeah.
So if council's like, okay, we don't mind doing the lot additions, but we can't sell it under what the value would be as a full lot, there is that option as well. And so those are the four options as I see them. If somebody sees another option, then I'm not offering up. So I'm looking for, okay, Councillor St. Louis.
For myself, Madam Mayor, I think we try to sell it as a single lot.
Mhm.
And if not, we sell it at what the appraised value is here. I understand that we can try to pull more, whatnot, and this and that. See what it's appraised at, our residents, that's what it, you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
It's open, so they're, you know, they're gonna come around and say, well, hold on, it's appraised at 33, but you want 80,000, or it's appraised at 78 and you want 150. I think personally, that's wrong. So my opinion is let's sell it for 280 if we can. And if not, then let's offer it to both residents at.
Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we are the keeper of the purse for the municipality. So yes, it's there's a road access, there's a water access. You can build a 2,000 square foot home on this lot. So let's get the most value that we can for the property. Declare it surplus and just sell it.
Hey, Councillor Pellerin, Councillor Febang, you'll be next.
I agree with Madam Mayor, if we can get 280. Offer it to the both residents, they both agree for their portion. I'd be agreeable to that. If not, then we put it for sale on open market.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Febang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to point out that the difference between option 1 and option 3 is that as a standalone lot with a house on it, the tax income is going to be far higher than the additional tax income on both properties if they have a lot addition. So that will be a significant difference in the long term.
Other questions or comments? Right now I have a full lot with two. Try the additions at full price first. Anybody else want to weigh in? I need to get to 5 to give direction. Councillor Rivard.
Since the proponents brought it forward, see if they'd be willing at that increased price or what their best offer would be. And then if not, then we'll have another discussion and potentially just sell it as a building lot. Because or we just start with it, but I'd go with giving them the option to what we said so that it equals 280 and then that doesn't work. Yeah, we'll sell it as a building.
Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to reiterate that we have a duty to maximize the potential income from this, and whatever we decide, is what we decide. But the option 1 is what would bring back far more money to the municipality in the long term.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is see a show of hands for full lot. I don't see anybody else who wants to specifically speak. But I do want to get to some kind of resolution here. So who would be in favor of placing property on the market as a full lot? Okay, that's the way it shall go.
And just for clarification,
Yeah.
by tender. We have a choice of either listing it with an agent or putting it up to tender ourselves.
Tender, we don't pay fees, and listing it, we pay real estate fees. Okay, tender, who would be in favor of putting it by tender as opposed to putting it on the market?
Yeah. You have a reserve bid on it?
That was my next question.
Okay. Tender and reserve bid?
Can I speak on this, please, Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I know that putting it with an agent involves real estate fees, but they also can market the property and more people will know about it because it will end up on MLS, than proceeding by tender. You know, I don't mind either way, but you know, maybe we should consider that aspect of it.
What would be the cost on real estate fees?
That's the other thing. I would have to put out a request for quotation to realtors to obtain quotations from them on the listing fees.
Okay, Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Madam. Yeah, I would talk to a retired agent of the real estate about this, and he's saying just ask around for the best deal. They will come down with their percentage, and especially if you go with only him, only that person, so nobody else, so they can give you a really good price.
The direction was already to sell the Tomico property by tender. So we could potentially combine it in one document. Or we can do, but the direction of this table was already to sell Tomico by tender.
That hasn't proceeded at this, but you're
No.
saying if we wanted to go with an agent, we could get a.
No, I'm saying that in the past, we've always used a tender.
Okay.
But, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but I think like Councillor Farrin said, I think we should use an agent if, depending, we ask for a deal. And we will get one. Then we decide if we go that route.
Okay, Councillor Larrabee.
I would put it to tender with an agent after probably a month, if we can sell it at the municipality instead of going through an agent. And the reserve bid, I'd put it at 200 and whatever the maximum, 280. That would be my reserve bid on this.
Okay, so I just want to see a show of hands again. Who prefers to go by tender? Okay, so it is by tender. And then the reserve bid, Councillor Larrabee suggested the full appraisal price. Full appraisal price reserve bid.
Oh.
Is that a question or a vote, Councillor Ferrer?
It's a vote.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for keeping it there long enough. Okay, number one down, number two, Lac de Mille. Okay, Councillor. Mr. Pinal.
Madam Mayor, my thanks again to Madam Clerk for putting this together. As you can see, this is a property that has been discussed in the past, and we are looking to council to receive the report, adopt a resolution to declare the land surplus and make a decision and give us some direction as to whether or not you would like these parcels sold as two parcels or as a single parcel or as two equal parcels. And I'll leave Madam Clerk to make any further comment on this piece.
Thank you, Mr. Pino. The only comment I would make is that we did have this came to us through a sole source offer by a resident who wanted to buy the whole thing. The discussion came at this table was to see whether or not it could be sold as two. I did speak with the individual after that discussion at council to find out whether or not they would be okay to only buy half if that was the decision that council made, and they were willing to just purchase the one half if council decides to sell it as two pieces. And then my next question, if council's okay to sell the piece to the person who made the offer in the first place, are we putting the second piece out to tender if council decides to split it?
Okay, so I'm gonna deal with this one at a time. The property can be split. The owner is still interested in purchasing the full property though, if it's available as well.
Yes.
So the property can be split. Who would be in favor of splitting the property and having two separate lots to sell? Is that a question or a vote, Jamie? And Councillor Resto?
It's a speed vote.
Okay, so in favor of splitting the properties?
By splitting the if I may,
Yeah.
Mayor, there's still, I'm reading here that there is still enough to make a complete lot,
2 lots instead of.
complete lots.
Yeah.
Estimated parcel 85,000, and if we sell divided 50,000. We're making 15,000 by selling it divided.
Okay,
Just a quick question. So if we decide to sell it for 2 lots and it's 50-50, and one individual will purchase the one, if the second one doesn't sell, does he get the option to go to 35 and purchase the whole thing at 85? Or are we gonna turn around and say, oh, no, sorry, the second one's 50 also?
So that's where we're at now.
yeah,
Well, my personal opinion is if we split it, and I'm fine with that. If nobody else purchases the other 50 or the other half, sorry, it should be offered to the previous owner at the 35 to bring it up to 85. And not selling to him at 50 and.
Councillor Resto?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't share the same idea as Councillor Sandler. I think there's a value to the land. And if the individual wants to buy the first half at 50, that's fine. We still have an asset that's worth 50,000 in our roster of land. And if it sells in a year or 2 or 3, then it sells in a year or 2 or 3, but it's still an opportunity to maximize the return on land that we are making available. And I'd go back to Councillor Feda's comment earlier. If we can sell both individually and there's 2 builds that happen, then it adds to the tax base, and that's another win for long-term revenue for the municipality. I don't think just because we're declaring it surplus and we want to move, doesn't mean we have to, sell it at the lowest that we can in the quickest way possible. I think it's still land. We're not, like they say, right? There's no more land that's being created, so it's always still an asset for us.
Councillor for Ryan.
What he's saying. I just have a question for maybe, what's the normal procedure for that? Is like the survey and the lawyer fees and all this, does it go to the buyer? The buyer pays for everything.
Yeah.
Survey, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Even the fees, the lawyer fee from the municipality too, or just his?
We don't have a lawyer fee.
Don't have a lawyer fee.
We got experts.
Madam Clerk.
There's a lawyer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and in a situation like this, so the survey, so there would be a cost to survey the severance.
Yeah.
And would that be split between, like, would he only pay? Because I'm just trying to.
Typically, if council were to sell it in 2 pieces, we would only apportion half of the cost of the survey
Okay,
to
that's
that
fair.
person.
That's.
And if we sold the other half, we would add it on to the next.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It would be a question. I don't know if I heard it right. The person that wants to purchase this land right now, he's willing to buy half of it, not all of it, right?
Yes, that's correct. Either or.
Okay, so now he has a chance to buy it at 85.
No.
Because it says if estimated the whole parcel for 85. So he would have a chance right now, but if he decides to buy half, and like Councilor Ruiz said, after that, later on, he wants it for the remaining, then I do agree with Councilor Jamie. Now he would have the chance to buy it whole. If we go to the trouble of dividing it, then it's 50-50 ultimately. I wouldn't give him a break on the second lot if he doesn't sell and he decides to buy it himself, but add to it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
and I know Councillor St. Louis may not like this suggestion, but is this is how I would deal with it, is I would offer the person who made the approach to the municipality the opportunity to buy the whole piece at $100,000, which is the price of the two separate lots, because he would have that value depending on how he built. He would actually have the option to do a severance down the line and possibly sell that lot. And that way, if he actually wants that full piece of property and he's willing to pay what the value is of the two separate lots, he can have it. If he only wants to buy half, then we split it and put the other half on the market. But we give him the first right of refusal at the full price, because that was the approach he made. And then if he decides, no, I don't want to pay that for that, I just want to pay 50 for the half lot, proceed and go along.
What
Councillor Rivard?
one danger I see in that is would they be allowed to sever the lot based on our official plan and our zoning bylaw? Or is this, you know,
He would have to,
because
that's
we're
severance.
doing one thing, right? So I don't really want to say, oh, he could purchase it for 100,000.
You would have to get a well, depending on where the zoning bylaw ends up with rural residential lot sizes, because we don't know whether that's gonna change yet. Like, that could be different down the line. Right now, the minimum is 2 acres, 1 hectare. However, there have been consent severances approved in the past that are under the 1 hectare that are done by variance. Right, so you know, if it's not unusual, if they can show it supports the servicing on that lot.
We already have that information.
And that information is already available, so it is a variance process. And so I guess the committee of adjustment, you know, it was up to the committee of adjustment as to whether to minor variance, but I would imagine that given the fact that there is the servicing, a severance like that would come with a recommendation from staff that it was an appropriate land use.
I guess that's just what I want.
Yeah, be careful on.
Because like if we have it in a bylaw and an official plan, but then the municipality severing now within that bylaw, official plan, and we're having these certain guidelines that you have to meet for us to sever or for a private landowner to sever, I just feel like it's a little, I don't know the.
Yeah, but there
word,
is-
right? So I
there
just
is
want
quite a
to
bit
watch
of-
that we would say that he could purchase it for 100 and sever when there's actually no guarantee he can sever. There's, look what we as a municipality could sever, so I'm just a little worried there with that terminology.
Right.
Yeah, like Councillor Levon says. We offer him the lot divided. Then he doesn't have to go through the process of a minor variance and all this.
Okay,
We can do it. And once they're severed, doesn't have to go through that.
So direction is offer it to him as a whole at 100,000 or offer it to him as 2 pieces at 100,000
plus expenses.
plus expenses, either way.
His choice as to
Yeah,
whether
his,
it's
well, his cost would be the cost of the survey.
Yeah.
If he wants it in 2 pieces.
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that agreeable to everybody? Oh, Councillor St. Louis?
So you're right. I don't agree 100%. No, but hear me out. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we never talked about this lot. We never talked about Champagne. We never talked about Woodco. However, when do we do it? When residents approach us about surplus land. And what do we want to do? We want to pull every penny out of our residents that we can. To me, that is unacceptable. That is so wrong what we're doing. We have appraisers, just like we have staff that come to us with advice, and we turn around and we're gonna try to soak our residents to the last penny. I'm just offended and blown away by all this. That's all.
Thank you. And I'm sure that the other argument is, as Councillor Larrabee said, this, we're responsible for the purse, so we are, with that property doesn't belong to us. It belongs to every taxpayer in the municipality. So, the responsibility on our part is to maximize the return on that investment for every taxpayer in the
And
municipality.
that property's been there for over 20 years and nobody's ever approached a municipality on it. Right?
Like
The
every
estimate
other
is there. They offer it to us at 85 or 50-50, that's fine. But now we're talking about, let's sever it, sell them both 50-50, plus he's got to pay, or she, whoever it is, has to pay that severance. So it's not just 100,000 now. We're probably looking at 105, 110, 120, whatever the severance is. I mean, come on.
Every property we sell was with a survey that we pay, that I respect.
I would disagree because if we sell just a portion and we don't sever it, we're not paying for the severance, right? So I'm just saying, that's all. I got nothing else.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Okay, direction is cleared. Is everybody okay? So you'll approach. Yep. Next is Main Avenue Cash Bake. Mr. Pilon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we received an expression of interest to purchase the attached land, and as you see on the diagram, it's on Mill Street in Cache Bay. There's a long history with the actual property, and I'm just looking for some direction from council with respect to the recommendation or our staff is recommending that the lands be declared surplus to the municipality and evaluation based on the foregoing information. And I'll give Madam Mayor a chance to expand on that. Or Madam.
Council and mayor, so confusing. Through you, Madam Mayor, the offer is coming from the landowner to the north, or pardon me, to the south of this property. They're looking at it as a lot addition. This is a sizable piece of property. It was kind of a widowed parcel when we acquired the land that's abutting it on Bain Street, and it kind of got, like I said, it wound up being a standalone lot. It's still owned by us. But it is certainly big enough to be a building lot. So my recommendation would be that this be appraised as a building lot, and if the individual wants to buy it at the building lot price, I don't think it should be a lot addition in and of itself.
Thank you. Are any of the other, I'm just looking at the CGIS yellow lines around any of those other properties owned by the municipality?
Well, the one to the,
The other-
this one is.
The
One
other
behind.
road allowance?
Yes, that was,
And that fronts on Ritchie Street?
yes,
And that has value as a standalone lot as well, because
No.
it does have road frontage?
no, that is the driveway of the house that is right here.
They have a right of way.
Yes. It's a very, very long, complicated file. It would take me a long time for it to explain. Yet we acquired it to legalize an access problem
Okay.
and a long-standing encroachment by the individual in that back lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. So we own it, but there's nothing we can do.
that's correct.
Oh, thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, so staff is looking for the go-ahead to get the appraisal as a standalone lot. Everybody in favor of that? Okay. Okay, and then industrial park update and Mr. Pilon, pass that to you.
Yeah, the final file here on the municipal property matter. And again, this is the industrial parkland, LeBlanc Road, Bay Street. And we're asking obviously for it to be received for as information by council, and council not proceed with application to the Rural Ontario Development Fund for the expansion of the industrial park at this time. I'll defer comments, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Everybody forgot to be on. And Mr. Bullen. Bullen, had come to council, back in, the fall. And there was some available funding for rural development. And at the time, we'd asked for direction to get the property reappraised, to find out what, what it would be worth in the event that we council wanted to apply for the funding to complete the subdivision as originally contemplated. Which we did. We got the appraised price. There was also a standalone lot that's the subject of another transaction, so don't pay attention to that $38,000 number. That's the other standalone lot that we already have. But the property, the large piece was appraised at 150. But the indicator was that the $38,000 would be a benchmark for if we were to divide it up into an additional 9 lots. You do the math at $38,000 times 9, it comes up to $342,000. The cost of building the road is $450,000. If we got the funding at $157,000, our net profit over however many years it took to sell all those lots would be just shy of $50,000. If we didn't get the funding, we would obviously lose a little over $100,000. So given the fact that there's no anchor tenant on the horizon and the fact that there's no real urgency to do anything with this, the recommendation is that we don't proceed with this at this time, because it could take a really long time to sell those lots. And there's no guaranteed return on the investment or guarantee that we'll get the funding.
Thank you for the work in approving those votes and the report and recommendation. I'll open the floor for questions or comments. Councilor Gondon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's obvious the recommendation, so I put this on.
Good. Councilor. Mr. Pruda, I want you all on my team.
Wait, next. Just to add, we will be coming to council at our next meeting to recommend the ROD funding. We just didn't feel that it was feasible to move ahead with this project, but we will be recommending to council that we do submit an application tied to a different project.
Do you know when the submission deadline is for the next round of ROD? Is it in March sometime or is it?
Date, I do not know, however.
February 26th.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, good.
I was gonna say close.
Lots of time.
I was gonna say close to the, but it just, I think the intake just recently opened, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short windows.
Yep.
Okay, so the recommendation from council is just to put this to bed. Is that general agreement by council? Show of hands, please. Thank you. Okay. And with that, general government is done. That was the, no.
Question.
Okay. Councilor Heather.
Can we get an update on the meaning of the book value? Or do I have to make a request for an agenda request? Can we get an explanation, book value?
We still don't know where the
Oh,
money goes. And like,
Because
we like asking the question now, but we still don't quite understand
Because
the ethereal location of the book value money. And I mean, you might, those books that have the yellow covers and say for dummies. Basically want the book value for dummies and not now. Because we are close to curfew, but if we could, I don't know, maybe do a quick book value lesson in our next general government at the beginning of March.
not that quick. I wanna know. Because we're looking at 280,000 for that lot on Champagne and the book value is at 62.
Yeah.
So I wanna know.
Okay. Not tonight, because we don't have time tonight and it's not on the agenda. But council would like to try to understand the complex notion of book value and where the money goes. Where okay, thank you.
Money exists.
We will move on to our regular meeting and we have 4 minutes and
Okay, it is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for the council and committee of the whole meeting held on February 3rd, 2026 be approved.
Okay, questions or comments on the consent agenda? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas by a lease dated the 1st of August 2016, the municipality of West Nipissing leased to the West Nipissing Community Health Centre the lands and premises located at 68 Michaud Street. And whereas the tenant had an option to lease additional space. And whereas the landlord has undertaken renovations and upgrades to the building in which the premises are located in order to provide an additional space for the tenant for its programming, comprising of approximately 4,868 square feet of additional rentable area. Be it resolved that the mayor and the chief executive officer. Yes, the chief executive officer be authorized to execute the second amending agreement with the West Nipissing Community Health Center.
Administrative office.
That's right. It didn't make
It
sense.
didn't make sense to you
No.
because it's, yeah. Okay. So be it resolved that we can sign the lease.
Yes.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Very, I'll just go back to, was there any questions on the correspondence on the animal control? Because it is on the agenda, so I just want to make sure that it's just for your information if anybody has questions. Councillor Ghani.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Looking at the report, like is it normal? There's not a lot of fines that are put forward? Is it just leniency or is there?
I was making funny.
I don't know how that compares. Miss Craddock.
I don't have the exact answer, but I'm gonna suggest that in order to actually lay a fine, you have to have an owner. And so when they've taken in stray animals that have not been claimed, that means they've not been able to find an owner either. So I suspect that would be why we've not seen fines in there.
Well, and I would say too that I don't believe under contract they do bylaw enforcement such as noise bylaw enforcement for animals or even animals on.
It's just running at large. They do the at large fines.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the animal control? Okay, we will move on to the next item under new business, please. And that's the awards that.
Oh, yes. It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Whereas requests for quotations were sought for granular resurfacing 2026, and there are 6 quotations were received. Whereas council concurs with the recommendations, be it resolved, the quotations for granular resurfacing for the year 2026 projects be awarded to LaBelle Brothers Excavating, being the lowest quotation meeting specifications.
Okay,
That's
Craddock, please.
That's not how the resolution should read.
Okay.
We see your next schedule that there's actually 3 different projects that are being awarded.
Let me just.
I have questions in the meantime, like, you need a minute to.
Yes, I should have.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, I'm sorry. So it would be to Ed Sagan for what is it, for East Road, to Ed Sagan and Sons, $75,629.60. To LaBelle Brothers Excavating for Canal Road, $66,460. And to Miller Paving for Tomico Road at $157,080.
Okay, can you confirm the budget numbers on each project?
I have them here. Okay, so for East Road, the budget was 76,000. For Tomico, it was $151,800. And for Canal, budget was $75,348.
Okay, and so between the 3 of them, those are on budget. There's one a little over and 2 a little under. Okay, and my other question is, Stewart Road was also included in the approved capital projects. Why is that not included in the resurfacing bid here?
Because the bid came in under $50,000 and those don't typically come to council.
Oh, the bid came in under $50,000 and that's a wonderful answer.
46, 40.
Okay, that's a great answer. Councillor Rivard.
Thank you. So yeah, I was looking at the budget as well. I had East Road on the capital budget workbook was 248.
Yes. We amended the workbook. Yeah, there was an error in.
Then, okay, it just kind of made sense when you saw the other bids at 173. And that's what kind of, so I'm thinking that. And then even Stewart was 135, so that was amended as well. I guess I'm not looking.
So, yeah, the numbers that she said are the ones that actually are in the final mayor's budget workbook, so. Okay, other questions or comments? Councillor Fedor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if, through you, I was wondering if we could see the budget figures as a matter of course. I think we may have asked this at a previous meeting last year. Just it's information that is interesting for us to see.
Okay. Can we get a just a break, resolution to extend curfew? Councillor Rivard, Councillor Laird. It is,
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. At approximately 9:33 p.m., a motion was tabled to extend the meeting beyond the regular curfew in order to proceed with the agenda.
Okay, questions, comments, all in favor? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Okay, so that's a reasonable request, I think, from Councillor Rivard, is when we get these documents in our agenda package, can we just have the budget number listed? Because that way we don't have to ask you, because we ask every time. So okay, other questions or comments? Thanks, Councillor.
Those concepts.
That was Fedor.
I'm sorry, you guys
Okay.
look a lot alike.
As long as we get it.
Thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, the resolutions on the table, all in favor? It's carried.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Rivard, whereas requests for quotations were sought for the asphalt sheeting for 2026, and whereas 3 quotations were received, and whereas council concurs with the recommendations, be it resolved that the quotation for asphalt sheeting for 2026 be awarded to Miller Paving, being the lowest quotation meeting all specifications, in the amount of $597,801.38.
Thank you very much. I'll note in the budget workbook, these were included as 2 separate projects. I'm going to assume they were put together because the Sylvester Street is such a small project that you wouldn't. I would ask the question, but I already looked up the answer, so I'll save you. The budget for Levac separately was $601,650.
Yes.
And the budget for Sylvester was $40,000. So this is more than $40,000 under budget.
Yes, but do keep in mind for Levac Road, there will be a cost for the shouldering.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, for the Levac Road project, there will be a cost for shouldering. We did that as a provisional price in case it came in really, really high, so we could look into doing it in-house, but the price has come in reasonably, so we will be within our budget for that project. But it's gonna come in more than the $565 that's here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay. Resolution on the floor, all in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas council has reviewed the proposed discretionary grant applications for 2026 in accordance with the municipality's discretionary grant policy, and whereas funding for discretionary grants has been provided within the 2026 approved operating budget, Be it resolved that council approves the following discretionary grant applications. Collège Boreal for Community Job Fair, $700 for the Marcel Noel Hall. The West Nipissing Sudbury East Federation of Agriculture, Board Meetings and Seminar Boardroom, $476. West Nipissing General Hospital Foundation, Fundraising Events, $1,400. Cache Bay United Seniors 50 Club, Bingo Bazaar and Santa Visit for $7,800 for the Cache Bay Hall. West Nipissing Food Bank fundraising social event for the Marcel Noel Hall at $1,320. Les Compagnons de Franco Loisir. Cultural activities at the Marcel Noel Hall at $700. And financial support grants to the Centre Communautaire de la Vigne, support for 50th anniversary initiatives, $4,800. Les Filles d'Isabelle, rent support, $1,000. And the West Nipissing Food Bank, rent support, $9,883.56. Lisa's better.
Okay, and the,
Lisa's better.
yeah, and the No More Tears application is dealt with a separate resolution after this. Just
Just
product, please.
that, we corrected Boreal to 2 days when we were in discussion, at the meeting. But they actually need it for 2 days, so it would be $1,400, not $700.
The Collège Boreal, $1,400.
Do you need an official amendment on that? On the resolution?
On resolution.
Hmm?
Need to change the number on.
I just changed the number on the resolution.
Okay, so assume it was read in at 1,400 for College Boreal for the fee waiver. So other questions or comments on anything except the normal course? Councilor Bonnier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the Communautaire CCL de la Vigne, most of their items are kind of geared towards beautification. And also I had requested in the past, which we never got as council, a budget for the CCL de la Vigne because we're already funding that center substantially. So I would like to have the full costing that we're currently paying before I personally accept this donation.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion to defer just that item? So remove the CCL. And do I get a seconder on that, Councilor Rivard? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to just defer the item on the CCL pending further financial information. Questions or comments on the deferral? Okay, Councilor Rivard?
I guess it's kind of just repeating what he says, but I agree, like, I believe it's 50,000 annually. The CCL already gets from the municipality, something around there, so it was surprising to me to see that another 5,000 would be requested. When if someone knows about this coming, maybe that would have been, to put some money aside to prepare for an activity like this, and it's already heavily.
So we can bring that back at the next meeting because I think I'd like to look at the numbers before we make a decision on that. So I have a mover and a seconder to defer the CCL. Can I, all in favor for the motion to defer? So okay, that's carried. So the resolution that's on the table still stands with everything except for the financial support for the CCL. Councillor Bonnie.
And you, Madam Mayor, you mentioned the No More Tears is coming up after, so is that line item scratched?
Yeah, it's on the financial support request, but it isn't in. It's a separate resolution that's going to be right after this resolution.
Okay, so are we removing this request from this line? From this resolution?
Well, this is just the memo on all of the financial requests.
Oh,
We've just split the resolution into two. Because there was some further information that's being brought by Councillor Restoll. And we'll have a discussion separately on the No More Tears case.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, so the resolution as amended, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Then the next.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Whereas council has reviewed the discretionary grant applications submitted by No More Tears for the 2026 calendar year. And whereas council has sought clarification regarding whether the services proposed to be funded overlap with services funded by DSAP. Be it resolved that council hereby approves a discretionary grant to No More Tears in the amount of for 2026.
Okay, so the amount in the resolution is blank because as you see, the application came in at the organization then contacted staff and said, no, that was a mistake. Our request is for 10,000. So the request on the table is 10,000. When we discussed it last meeting, we had funded at a level of $5,000 last year. And there was some question whether we should be increasing the funding when the services provided by No More Tears West Nipissing are services that are funded under DSAB and that we pay a significant portion into DSAB and therefore that was the discussion to be had. Since then, Councillor Restool had some interaction with his fellow board members at DSAB. So I will actually pass the floor to him if you'd like to share any information as the rest of them.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. I think part of the discussion when we last talked about this was if DSAB is providing funding directly to No More Tears, if I'm not mistaken, and that if we do this, it might be a situation where we're kind of double providing. Doesn't make sense. Providing funding to No More Tears from two different sources, us directly to them and us through our apportionment that we send to DSAP. And in speaking with the CEO at DSAP, there is no funds that flow from DSAP directly to No More Tears. There are other service organizations that they do support. But directly to No More Tears, there is no financial support from DSAB. So this request that they put forward for 10,000 for 2026 would be a standalone request. It wouldn't be double funding that they'd receive through DSAB from West Nipissing, like from our budgets here. So I had sent an email out to our council with that information. There are other organizations that DSAB does fund that provide other services to potentially to some clients of No More Tears, but it's not the same services that are being provided by No More Tears to those unhoused in our community. And like I mentioned in the email, I think No More Tears has worked hard to establish their niche in terms of services that they provide to the unhoused in West Nipissing, and they also have demonstrated that they've worked with other service providers, including DSAB and True Self, to help these individuals get back to a good place. So again, the last comment that I had made in my email was I'm supportive of the request of the 10,000 from No More Tears. I think they do a great job in the community for those unhoused individuals, and I'm looking for support from others around the table.
Thank you very much, Councillor Restool. Questions or comments? Councillor Gonier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll make the comment again. This is not a municipal service that we're offering. I think the 5,000 is enough as a starting point. Before we start funding No More Tears at a higher percentage. We have, and we will get more requests during the year. So I would rather be cautious. Give them the 5,000, and if it's not sufficient for them, or if they need additional money, they could request an additional $5,000. That would be my comment, to be prudent, to be able to share this specific fund from council to help any non-for-profit organization coming down the pipeline. Just beginning of February, we've got 10 months to go, and I'm sure we will get more requests. So that's my comment and my reasoning. for asking, and I think some services are being doubled that we should be getting maybe from DSAP, but and I do know Newmore Cares is doing a great job, but at the end of the day, if I'm not mistaken, they do have money left in their current budget, so that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments?
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I just would like to know exactly why DSAP provide money to a group like No More Tears. Like, maybe there must be something I'm missing, because I just don't really understand that. So I would love to have the opportunity to learn a bit more as to why they can't, if it's not exactly a levy amount, but
4 point.
exactly. I do know that it was substantial, and I'm just wondering what exactly is that criteria that doesn't allow 10,000, 5,000 from that 4 million or what? And go towards something specific in West Nipissing.
Okay, I don't want to speak on behalf of the organization, but I think that the agencies that are currently partnered with DSAB have a longer standing relationship. And really No More Tears is quite new to the landscape. And they've been operating in the municipality for probably 3 to 4 years now, and they're in the beginning of our term. But there was some bumps at the beginning, some time to get their for-profit and then their charitable status. So, it's encouraging to see them taking the steps and the growth that they've experienced as an organization, both on just the way they operate, as well as working through the process to legitimize themselves. I believe that they do work closely with staff in certain departments of DSAB as far as finding referrals for clients and housing and stuff like that. So I'm hopeful that it is a matter of time that they build those relationships, and maybe with some advocacy from members of our council who have influence on the board, looking to get some of the funding that is available for the service. But I just think, to me, I think it is just a matter of that growth arc, where they're new enough. They are working on kind of solidifying those relationships, and hopefully within a couple of years, or a year or 2 years, they'll be in a position that relationships established a little better.
Yeah, thank you. Just as we were speaking, it made me realize too, I guess there are the costs of, if they're working with the staff, there's some costs that DSAB is providing like tiers that way as well. So I didn't mean it in any way like that they're not providing anything. But it's still just like.
So right now, I'd just like to go back to Councillor Gagne. We have, do you want to put that in as an amendment to test it at 5,000 and see whether that passes, and then?
Yep, please.
Okay, so just quick show of hands, who would be in
Sorry,
favor?
Madam Mayor, can I just ask for a clarification, please?
Sarah, yes.
So if we do not vote in favor of 5,000, and the amendment fails, then we will have the opportunity to vote for 10,000?
Okay, so procedurally, and Madam Clerk is right, I will start at the ask, which is 10. And if we don't get agreement on the 10, we'll go to the alternate at 5 and see how that goes, okay? Okay, so at $10,000, can I see a show of hands? I would be there too, but that's 4, okay. So at $5,000, I'll see a show of hands. So that's at $5,000, please. So I'll just take the official vote. Councillor Restool?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I understand 5,000. I heard that we can assess later if there's another need, or they can reapply. Is there any kind of time frame, or
Yeah.
what's the criteria for them resubmitting to request another 5,000 or whatever amount at a later date.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just looking for clarification on see how it goes. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
So, why don't we look at mid-year, to take another request? And I'm sorry, because I really, should have said a little bit more, because I feel, as Jamie does, that, if you see some of the services that they have offered in this community, there are definite gaps in the services we're able to provide. Those services are not being provided right now by DSAB. A couple of weeks ago, we had an extreme cold weekend at minus 30 degrees, and the volunteers, the unpaid people who are running this organization, open their doors 24 hours a day for 2 of the days of the weekend to make sure that the people that they served had somewhere warm to go and somewhere to eat. When we ask our partners who are responsible for providing those services, the answer is they can go to North Bay. So there are gaps in the services that we have in our community that this organization fills. And I will give another example. I had an email not too long ago from a woman who was desperately fearful of becoming homeless within 2 weeks with a young child. And she was, the email, she was terrified. And my very first thought wasn't, oh, I should send her to the coordinated access system through DSAB, or I should put her in touch with the crisis center. I forwarded her email to my contacts at No More Tears and made a phone call and had a discussion. And they said, yep, no problem. And contacted the woman, and within a week they had secured long-term housing for her. And so in this case, it's not even somebody who is homeless. They prevented somebody in our community from becoming unhoused. And so I think that the work that they're doing is very important, and they are proving to be very effective at the work they're doing, actually being able to show real assistance to people who need it. So that's why I voted in favor of the $10,000. I'm good with the 5, but I'd like to, Councillor Pellerin.
Yes. I've been to No More Tears quite a few times, and I agree with you 100%. I did vote for the 5,000, but I want to make sure that they know we're here. If they need something the next month, they should come in and ask. The next thing, like Councillor Ribar was saying, I'd like to know, exactly what we pay, how much we pay, and for what for DSAB. I know the ambulance system is DSAB, but I'd like, maybe we've been told before there, but for sure, No More Tears deserve a chunk of that, and they're all volunteers. It's unreal. They get right to people for their appointments, and they're not paid. It's unreal.
Okay, Councillor, just go to Councillor Resto, but yes, I appreciate that. Councillor
For
Resto?
you, Madam Mayor, I believe they've been in to provide an update or an overview of services, but be happy to facilitate a request to DSAB to make a presentation to council in terms of what services they provide in West Nipissing. There's a lot of things that happen through DSAB. Like you mentioned, paramedic services, Ontario Works, they have an office in Sturgeon Falls. There's a lot of different things that they do. There is, you mentioned, Madam Mayor, the cold weather that we had. There is motel rooms in Sturgeon Falls that are accessible by individuals who need housing, especially during overflow with the cold weather advisories, and that's available in West Nipissing. So there's a lot of things that happen. I'm not doing it justice in terms of everything, but for information purposes, if council would like a presentation from DSAB, I'm very sure that they'd be happy to come and share what they do in terms of service, and what services based on what we provide through our apportionment.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure that Councillor Restal can work with Monsieur Bedon to arrange a future delegation from DSAB on reviewing services. Councillor Bynum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Councilor Restal. If we could also have that information ahead of time so that we can review it, do our own research, so we can ask the good questions at the same time. Because for myself also, I know where some of that money is going, but in regards to helping our homeless, like I don't have no clue what DSAB is doing in Sturgeon Falls. And you've mentioned that there's hotel rooms available in cold weather times and so on. So I'd like to have all of these details and for myself, if we can have the statistics, how many people they're placing, all of that information, it would help me to maybe make a better sound decision in regards to maybe funding local tiers a bit more than we're currently doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we voted on that resolution yet?
Sort of, yes.
Sorry.
Okay, how about we do it officially because it is money involved and so all in favor at the $5,000 level, please. So we'll go on that. Councillor St. Louis, no, Councillor, who asked for a timeline as to when they can come back? Councillor Restwell, thank you. So mid-year, but I'm sure that those of us who visit frequently will be speaking with them in the meantime as well, so. Okay, next resolution, shorten the budget amendment period, please.
Whereas section 284-16 of part 6 of the Municipal Act assigns powers and duties with respect to proposing and adopting municipal budgets to the council. And whereas subsection 7.4 of Ontario Regulation 53022 provides the council may by resolution shorten the 30-day period during which the amendments may be proposed following presentation of the proposed budget to council. And whereas the water and wastewater budget information was presented to council on January 6th, and the mayor's proposed budget was presented on January 22nd at the council meeting and released to council on January 21st, in accordance with the strong mayor budget timelines and delivered to all members of council, the municipal clerk, and by public posting on the West Nipissing website. Be it resolved that pursuant to the authority granted under section 284-16 of the Municipal Act, the council for the West Nipissing municipality hereby agrees to shorten the 30-day amendment period following receipt of the water and wastewater budget from 30 days to.
What is today? No, I don't mean days. I mean like, if it would be 12 days, like. One is 10.
Tomorrow.
It's not midnight yet.
Means tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anybody who feels they might want to make any amendments to the water and sewer budget? Okay, is 14 days would put it tomorrow? Is that correct? So would council be in favor of shortening the amendment period to 14 days so the budget would be deemed approved tomorrow? I mean, if you would like some more time, take 16, take 18, but does 14 days work for everybody? 16, yeah, whatever, 14. Okay, 14. Okay, off we go. So resolution as read, 14 days, which would make the water and sewer budget deemed approved tomorrow. Is that a pre-vote, Jamie? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have two items on an addendum, one for Good Roads Conference delegation requests. Staff's had some time to consider some options.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Totally gapping on one of them, but one of them.
17 or Front Street?
Yes, Front Street, sorry, that's the one I'm gapping on. So Front Street.
Connecting link.
Connecting links piece. You need to drive home. The fact that we have requested funding on that piece and I think I'll want some budgeting for it in 26 as well.
And we tried for 2025 and it needs to be done. When do we usually get the connecting link funding notifications?
Any day now.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it in and if we get the notification between now and then, what?
Yeah, we can pull it.
Is that okay for everybody? Connecting link funding for Highway 17 corridor, Highway 17
Front Street.
Front Street.
Front Street?
The second project was our digester building.
Yeah, digester roof replacement, which we applied for funding and we were not successful. We do still have it in our budget, but
Okay.
MOI.
And any other suggestion the council might have?
Okay, that would be MOI. So MTO, MOI for the digester roof. Is that okay with everybody? Council Pellering?
So the digester roof, the amount that we put aside, how much does it cover the roof?
we believe we have the full amount in the budget.
Okay. We're just.
But we're just hoping to get funding.
Don't say that out loud. We can't afford it without provincial support.
She just said, we didn't do it.
Okay. So, MOI, MTO. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring forward? I don't want to do 6 again this conference, so just the 2, that would be great. Okay, so.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor St. Louis, where the Ontario Good Roads Association has announced that delegations for the 2026 Over Conference are open. Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing directs staff to submit delegation requests to the following ministries. Ministry of Transportation for connecting link funding for Front Street and Ministry of Infrastructure for funding for the digester roof at the wastewater plant. All in favor?
Oh, sorry, all in favor? The next resolution. Okay, and the final item.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas council has for many years participated in the North Bay Household Hazardous Waste Program, and whereas on January 22nd, 2026, Council for West Nipissing Municipality has elected not to continue to participate in the program and will be carrying out a pilot program for the disposal of hazardous waste in West Nipissing. Be it resolved that the municipality of West Nipissing wishes to terminate its participation in the North Bay Household Hazardous Waste Program effective December 31st, 2025. And be it further resolved that staff be directed to carry out a pilot program for the disposal of hazardous waste in West Nipissing.
Okay, questions or comments? Councillor Ferre?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was somewhat surprised that this was announced publicly before it had been approved by a council resolution, because it's a major change in service level with some cost implications that are still pretty much unknown. Personally, I still don't think it's ideal to ask people to hold on to their hazardous waste for up to a year. And I think a lot of it, unfortunately, will end up in the landfills. I still think we should be able to consider the option of doing it ourselves, and I'd like to know what this involves and the cost. And for this reason, I'm going to vote against the resolution until, and I would propose that council is presented with a range of fully costed options to choose from. And that in the meantime, we should stay with the existing arrangements.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Larrabee?
Okay, I would also support that because, like I stated the other day, myself and Councillor Ferran, we went to drop off some batteries, and they didn't ask questions of where it's from. They didn't take license plate or driver's license or nothing. So they got statistics saying how much of West Nipissing participate in that program in North Bay. Or how, if they don't ask questions like that. We just drove in, dropped, took off. So I think those numbers that we got told are definitely not accurate.
Thank you. Councillor Pellerin?
I kind of agree with Councillor Ferrer. I'd like to have more options. Although I don't recycle too much, not a lot. But I'd like, yeah, I like what Councillor Farron is suggesting.
Questions, Councillor St. Louis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand and I agree with what our staff are providing, but I'd like to just put out there that I've been contacted by several residents that have also stated that they've gone to North Bay and they were never asked their address or where they're from. So just touching a bit on the statistic, how skewed they can be. But I do understand that with the information that we were provided, this is the best course of actions to take.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support your recommendation. I think we're gonna have a lot more West Nipissing resident dropping off their hazardous waste than going to North Bay, and less will go in our landfill. So I'm in agreement. Let's try it out and see how it works out. We're gonna save some money long term on this, I think, anyways. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments?
If we could have a depot here that we could drop it off once a week or so, then it would be worth it. Because right now, I'm not gonna hold on to my material if I'm not painting the can, you know, like I go to we go to the batteries. So now you're asking me to hold on to that stuff for a whole year before I can get rid of it.
Well, there's,
No, can't.
Okay.
Well,
we're not in committee, so if it's something new, please add it. Otherwise, let's get to a vote.
No, I was just wondering, like Councillor Larrabee was saying, if we do drop our permit, I don't think we're licensed now. We need to get a license
Right.
at one of the dumps to do that.
And I'm assuming that's a process. If that requires approvals, it
And
could
it's
be,
one that we are looking into and we certainly want to move that way.
okay. But it's not a short-term solution. It doesn't manage 2026.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the resolution's on the table. Vote your conscience. We'll see how she rules. All in favor of moving to to terminate the agreement with North Bay and have a hazardous waste day program in West Nipissing. All in favor? 2, 3. That's defeated. Okay. I've been advised by Madam Clerk, we do have a closed session on the agenda, but Madam Clerk has advised that nobody take it from Mr. Fuel, if that were to go to next meeting, would it impact operations at any point? Or is that something that we discuss at our next meeting, the weakness of the hour? Okay, so can I have a motion, a mover and a seconder for closed session to the next meeting?
Sure.
Sure. Well, I was looking at Councillor Rivard, but I said Councillor Restoll, but we'll go Councillor Restoll and Councillor Rivard, please.
It's moved by Councillor Restoll and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that the closed session agenda be deferred to February the 7th.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Just briefly, and it's not a mayor's report, I will say that on Thursday, February 5th, we are having a statutory public meeting in regards to the official plan. Public is welcome. There'll be an open house from 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock where you can ask questions of our staff on any of the policies contained therein. And a public meeting of council afterwards. The meeting is to deal with the policies in the official plan. I will just say that the zoning bylaw piece of it is a separate piece, but all are welcome to attend and hear about the official plan. So that is Thursday, 4-7 for the open house, 7 o'clock for the public meeting. And with that,
It was moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-08, being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on February the 3rd, 2026 shall come into effect from the date it is passed.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
It's moved by Councilor Gardens, by Councilor St. Louis. Be resolved that the council and committee of the whole meeting held on February the 3rd be adjourned.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.